Okay, we are live. Just doing a quick check that we're all good, but it looks like we are live. And just want to welcome everybody that has joined us on this webinar today, whether you've joined us on the live or whether you've joined us on the rerun. Congratulations, because this could be the webinar that makes all the difference to your entrepreneurial career. Now, becoming a high performance individual is the subject matter that I'm going to be talking to you about during this presentation. However, the broader context of the seminar today is to help people that are budding entrepreneurs, people that are looking to start a business, or people that are in business that are looking for motivation and inspiration. Because here at Blam, that's what we spend pretty much all of our time doing: motivating, inspiring, and helping our partners that run their digital marketing agencies become successful. But because we're an entrepreneurial business, it means that the people that we deliver these marketing materials to, these websites, these apps and SEO, they're entrepreneurs too, they're business owners too. And when we're in that environment full of entrepreneurs, it means that we're all helping each other to find success. And success is that word that pretty much every entrepreneur is striving to achieve. And we're all on this journey to improve ourselves on a regular basis so that we can achieve more success, and success in the way that we see it. So this particular seminar today is about helping you find the motivation and apply the tools and the actions that can help you climb that ladder of success, as well as helping you understand a definition of what success is to you. So I am delighted that today I'm able to let you give you a little bit of information about the people that we're going to be joining us to get this information over to you. So to start with, you've got good old me. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Grant Stain, and hi on Instagram, by the way. My name's Grant Stain. I'm the CEO here at Blam. So I've been running Blam now for 9 years. And as I said, we're dedicated to helping people achieve success with their digital marketing agency and teaching those people to help their customers, which are typically small to medium-sized businesses, achieve success with digital marketing for themselves. So success is a common theme throughout the business that I run. I'm going to go into more detail about my past, but I'll be giving you a presentation today about how to become a high-performance individual, what that actually means, and then how we can apply it. So after that, I am delighted to introduce to you Coach Jag. So John Allen Gaye is going to be presenting to you. Now, he's the Blam Partner Coach. And the Blam Partner Coach, Jag, he spends all day helping people with their entrepreneurial learning on their journey, keeping them accountable to their goals, helping them with their actions, and helping them achieve success with their digital marketing agency. And as a result of that, coaching all these people on a daily basis, he's come up with systems and processes that are going to be really useful to you, whether or not you are running a digital marketing agency, or whether you've got another kind of business, or if you're thinking of starting a business. The tools that he's going to help you with are going to be super useful for you to be able to apply and gain more knowledge to achieve that level of success that you are looking at. Then I'm going to be absolutely delighted to introduce to you my very good friend, Mr. David Rahman. Now, David Rahman, better known as the Mind Coach, he's been a speaker for years, traveled the world on some of the biggest stages in the world. Fabulous book that I urge you all to read, because you know the information that you will gather through David's learning is just amazing, both in life and in business. The way, for those of you who haven't seen David before, the way that he articulates the way that this lump of meat works really helps you get past those obstacles that can be blocking you from taking the next steps in your career ladder, your personal life. And I love the way that he explains things, because it just helps you get past some of those barriers that we put in front of ourselves. Now today, the subject matter that he's going to be portraying today is one that is very close to all of our hearts. I think whether you're in business, having your own business, or whether you're employed, imposter syndrome comes up all the time. Now, I seem to be having conversations about imposter syndrome on a regular basis at the moment. It's such a poignant subject, because we all have these fears, don't we, about whether or not we are good enough to be, for me, stood here presenting to you guys a presentation about how to become a high performance individual. That makes me have a little bit of imposter syndrome. Am I good enough to be able to put that information across to you? And from that to 1,000 other ways, it's said, and I'm sure David's going to give you some really good statistics on this, but over 80% of people at some point in their life experience imposter syndrome. So acknowledging that, and then having the tools and the techniques to be able to overcome that, is going to be fantastic. So I've not seen this presentation before. I'm absolutely delighted that he's going to be sharing it with us, and he's going to be coming in live on the feed to do that presentation just after the break today. And then finally, last but by no means least, I'm really, really pleased to be able to say that we've got an entrepreneurial interview today with somebody who has just really impressed me from the first moment that I met her. Tracy Falcon, who runs Evolve Digital Consulting over in Canada. She's got 2 offices. She's got one in Calgary and one in Edmonton, Canada. She's a BLAM partner, and she's just a fantastic entrepreneur. Now, you guys may have seen seminars like this before, where we have interviewed BLAM partners, and they're always fascinating, because no 2 BLAM partners are the same. They may all be running digital agencies, but no 2 BLAM partners are the same. Now, Tracy is quite unusual, because she's actually been in the kind of marketing and advertising industry for many, many years, but she's never run her own business. She's always worked for herself. And when she joined the BLAM Partnership Program, it kind of gave her the confidence to be able to carry on doing what she was doing, but doing it for herself. And one of the things we often say, don't we, about starting our own business is that, it's exchanging working hard to make somebody else rich in exchange for working hard to make yourself rich. And ultimately, any kind of business is about a business owner leveraging people underneath him, whether that be suppliers, staff, and the people that work with him and for him, in order to be able to sell to somebody else with a margin. So you've got to make profit. And so, of course, if you're working for somebody and you've got entrepreneurial aspirations, your boss needs to make a profit out of you. It's really important for them to make a profit out of you, because if they don't, they haven't got a business. And so most entrepreneurial minded people will sit there in their job thinking, how much more could I be earning for myself if I was working for myself instead of for my boss? But of course, the thing that hits people smack bang in the face is then all the other things that they have to do. When you're in a business, you're part of a team, and everybody shares the burden of that team and of that process. And therefore, it's sometimes there's a lot more to it than is expected. And that's really where BLAM comes in. BLAM comes in and shows somebody how they've got the will, and they've got the work ethic, and they've got a lot of the traits that I'll be talking about when it comes to my presentation. They can apply it and become a successful entrepreneur. And Tracy is an individual that is definitely a high performance individual that has applied that. And in the interview, I really want to do a deep dive. I've not interviewed her since she very first started with BLAM, when she was completely green to entrepreneurial thinking and success, and she was brand new. And she's now been a partner, I think it's getting on for 18 months, and she's been about 12 months full into her business. And she's seen some fantastic success in that time. She's not been without her ups and downs. So as it's the first time I've interviewed her since, she's got to that point in her business, I really want to dig deep on some of the, the emotional things that you go through, some of the ups and downs, the good things, the bad things, and what it's like to go from being that employee and employed and working for somebody to being your own boss, and what that transition is like. So looking forward to that interview. That's going to be right at the end of the presentation. So you're in for a treat, guys, and we've got plenty to get through. Now, without further ado, I want to crack on with my presentation, and I just want to do a double check. So I'm in this room today on my own. We've done lots of these seminars for you over the years, guys. And every time we try and sort of tweak the setup. We went through a real evolution when we went through lockdown, where we started doing these hybrid things now. So lockdown, it was dead easy. Everything was a straightforward presentation, restricted from anybody else being in the room. But now we started doing these kind of hybrid events. So I'm hoping and hi for everybody on Instagram, by the way. I've got an Instagram going here, so you can just see it in the shot there. We've got this hybrid where I'm presenting live and then we're bringing people in. So I just want to make sure. I think we've got a good sound check. Now, for those of you that are watching, you could be on a number of different platforms. So you might be direct through the webinar. You may be through one of the Facebook. You could be on Instagram. You could be on YouTube. Feel free to use the chat. So I've got somebody who's moderating today, and if you want to ask questions, and even if you're watching on the rerun, please do put your questions in. They will all get answered. I'm sure there'll be plenty of things that crop up. We're here to help. My goal today is to help entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs, get value from this information, value from the benefit of all of the speakers' experience, more importantly, so that you can action it. So what I would all urge you to do right now is make sure that you are giving this seminar your full attention, that you have got a pen and paper, and I do like a pen and paper. A pen and paper, physically writing stuff down, is proven to make it stick in your mind more often, more than typing would. And pay full attention. Turn the notifications off on your phone. Don't have your email. Because if you can give some of this information full attention, it only takes one little nugget that you can take away and action immediately, and it can literally change your life. I've been in seminars, not dissimilar to this, presented by other people, where I've taken one little bit of information, actioned it immediately, and by immediately I mean right after this presentation, or sometimes during, so that you can get the maximum value from the content. The challenge that we have in this life, where we're bombarded with so many messages and notifications, is that if you finish this presentation, feel motivated, if you feel like there's something in there that really resonated with you, you feel uplifted and you feel excited, and you say, I'm going to do that on Monday morning first thing. I'm recording this on a Friday afternoon in the UK. I'm going to do that on Monday morning, by the time the weekend has gone through, the chances of you actioning it, of you implementing it, have actually nosedived. Most people won't even get to the end of this presentation. Most people will get distracted halfway through. Such is the nature of our attention span in business. But what I do know is the people that stick with it, the people that persevere to the end of this presentation without being distracted and then take action immediately, are the ones that fit this criteria. They are the people that are the high performers. And you have to understand this in order to execute on it. And so without further ado, let's do my presentation, how to become a high performance individual. Now I'm just going to double check we've got the sound is all good. We have. Okay, awesome. So let's start a little bit by talking about this fella here. And weirdly, I was just saying as I was doing a little rerun, a little test run, this photograph was actually taken just there, literally about a foot in that direction. Pure coincidence. We're in the boardroom here at Blam, which is a beautiful space, and that one came out well. So, as you know, I run Blam. I help budding entrepreneurs start their business. I spend most or a good proportion of my time coaching entrepreneurs, helping entrepreneurs. I call it an entrepreneurial ecosystem that I evolve in. And I've got to be honest, guys, I absolutely love it. Business is my passion. It makes me very happy to be able to help other entrepreneurs. And it makes me really, really privileged to be able to support them. Now, I'm actually the director of Blam, but I've been a serial entrepreneur for the past 25 years. I've lost count of how many businesses I've actually had. Guys, I should make a note really of when I do a presentation like this, letting you know a bit, but I'm well into double figures, let's put it like that. In that time, I've had multiple different sector businesses in multiple different sectors, marketing, tech, automotive, etc. And the reason for that is because I started off in marketing. Branding was my thing. My understanding of business was very much around branding and setting a business up and getting the logo done and the tone of voice and the core values and all that kind of stuff. And so for me, the exciting bit is setting up the business and getting all the foundations and structures in place. So as a result of that, I kind of now do that on a daily basis. I've helped over 300 people set up their business and coach them through it. Because for me, that is the bit that I've got really good at, and that's the bit that I'm really sort of confident in. And so with over 300 people being coached from startup and onwards, and I've also coached people that have been in business with a lot of experience, it gives me quite a broad range of knowledge to be able to draw on when I'm doing my coaching and when I'm doing presentations like this. I am still involved in a couple of other businesses, but a while ago I went through a bit of a purge to get rid, sell off, and move along some of my other businesses so that I could focus on Blam. Blam is where my passion is. But the one other business that I have kept up with that is another real passion of me is I'm actually a director of a company called the Number One Club International. Now, the Number One Club International is very relevant to this presentation today because it is a private members club for the super successful in this world, for what we call ultra high net worth individuals or super successful people. And these people pretty much across the board are what I would call high performance individuals, HPIs. And therefore, over the last sort of 5 years, 4 to 5 years since I've been involved in the Number One Club International, I've had the privilege of working with, being involved with, being in networking and meetings with, attending events with some of the most incredible entrepreneurs on the planet, with some of the most inspiring, motivating, hardworking and high performance people on the planet. And as a result of that, it's given me an amazing insight into how these people operate and how they perform. And I've got to be honest with you guys, when I first started getting involved, it was pretty intimidating to see the level at which they work on. But on the other hand, super motivating and super inspiring. So part of this presentation really is drawing from some of that experience, drawing from some of that motivation, and then passing it on to you. So without further ado, let's get my clicker working. Is it working? No, I might have to do it manually. There we go. There we go. So this is I'm just seeing if this is working now. This is the Number One Club International logo. If you do want to check it out, by the way, you can check it out at the number one club. It's TNOCI, the number one club international.com. Do feel free to check it out. The one thing I will say about the members of the number one club is, again, pretty much across the board, and this is for super successful people in general, they love helping other entrepreneurs. It is a common trait. We're kind of in this broader club that nobody really talks about, the entrepreneurial club, if you like, where helping each other just comes naturally because every single one of the members of the number one club international remembers what it was like at the beginning. And we all remember how it was when we first started and how helping these people, really helps bring it back to us and can help the next generation move forward. Now, as a result of that, I can give you a little bit of secret information. The number one club is actually, I've started facilitating, we'll be launching in April, a new mastermind that's going to help people that aren't quite at the level of the number one club international members join a mastermind that can help them level up. So these people are already super successful, but they're looking to get to the next level. And that mastermind group will be launched in April. So if anybody is interested, if you are a super successful person looking to get to the next level, just check out tnoci.com and find out, and just fill out the form, membership request form to find out more. It's a highly selective group, but if it's interesting to you, then please do get in touch. Now, my clicker, I love a tech issue, but my clicker has stopped working. So I may have to keep coming towards this to press it. Yeah, it has. That's frustrating, isn't it? Okay, never mind. I love a tech problem. This is where I always have to remind myself, I don't think I've ever done an event where there hasn't been some kind of technical issue. Embrace the beauty of technology. So what defines a high performance individual? First and foremost, we're going to be calling them it stopped working altogether now. Here we go. There we go. It's working again. Woo! So what defines a high performance individual? Well, let's just start with some well-known definitions. Now, Forbes magazine, everybody knows Forbes, well known for business. It's kind of like the authority. And when I looked it up, I was interested to find out what they defined as an HPI, a high performance individual. Well, first and foremost, somebody who seeks clarity. So seeking clarity. So what does that mean? So the example that I found when I looked at this is that Oprah Winfrey. Now, Oprah Winfrey, everybody knows, is a high performance individual, one of the highest paid celebrities, fantastic entrepreneur. She starts every single meeting by saying, what is our intention for this meeting? What's important and what matters? So the key is here, they seek clarification because it's about being effective and efficient. It doesn't necessarily mean that they gain clarification immediately. It means they are seeking clarification. So next is they know their why. So in other words, they know why they're doing what they do and whom they are doing it for. This is something that we all need to concentrate on, because when we nail our why, our performance increases naturally because we're much more motivated. They also say that they work smarter, not harder. Now, I love this. You'll have heard me bang on about this plenty of times in the past. Being effective and efficient with the work that you do is absolutely key. You could be the hardest worker in the world, but you might just be digging a hole that's going nowhere. And it'd be lots of hard work, but if it's going nowhere, it's for nothing. Being effective and efficient is absolutely key. Work smarter, not harder, has been identified by Forbes. Now, this one, I was actually quite surprised. Take regular breaks. Now, it is said that there's a rule of 52 to 17. And the idea is to take a 17-minute break after every 52 minutes of work and the work must be intense. And apparently that is the scientifically most efficient way of working. Now, I didn't know that till I looked this up, because one of the things that I always say to people is you've got to work like a maniac, but you do need to take breaks, because you can only focus on something for so long. 52 to 17 is the ratio. I am going to be trying that out, by the way, and I will feed back on that one. What else have we got? We've got don't let fear get in the way. Now, this is really, really important if you're going to be an HPI, because what fear does, if you listen to it, it stops you from making a decision. And if you procrastinate, you're not going to be a high performer. So they don't let fear get in the way. Now, this is really important. One of the examples of this is the way that Bear Grylls deals with fear, and he just acknowledges the fear. It's not that he's fearless, even though he might appear to be, some of the stuff that he does. He acknowledges the fear and he pushes through it. You will all feel fear when you're trying to make decisions in business. The difference between an HPI and a non-HPI is that you don't let fear stop you from making that decision. So absolutely fundamental, that one. So the thing that I would add to this study that Forbes did, they were very much focused on business. But let's be honest, guys, if we want to be a high performance person, there's more to life than just business. Part of the reason we do business is so we can do all the other things that we want to do in life. So other areas that you need to work on in order to be a high performance individual. I remember years ago, my best friend joined the Marines. We were both young lads at the time. I was 18. I was 17. He was 18, and he joined the Marines. Now, in the UK, the Marines is one of the hardest courses that you can go on. They're well known around the world for their grueling approach to the way that they do business, or the way they go about their business, should I say. Now, something that he told me back when he was 18 about what they taught him in the Marines has stuck with me to this day. And it's about making a cup of tea. Because in the Marines, what they teach you is every single thing that you do in life, you have to do it better than the last time you did it, including making a cup of tea. It might be making the bed. It could be driving the car to work. It could be anything in life, from what seems like the least important thing, like making a cup of tea, through to the really important things. You must strive for excellence, and you must make micro improvements in everything that you do. Now, I remembered that when I was in my first job, and I remember my boss saying to me, "You make such a great cup of tea. Whenever you make it, you get it right." And because I remembered it so well, I was the tea boy when I first started. And so I used to go and get everybody's, there must have been about 15 cups of tea I had to make. I had to go and get everybody's order. And when I made the tea, everybody has a different preference about how they want their cup of tea. Some people like it strong with 3 sugars. Some people like it weak with only a touch of milk, and everything in between. And I made it my mission to get everybody's tea perfect. Now, just a little aside, I've been trying to do this with Abby, my wife, for 27 and 28 years. I've still never got it right, but I'm working on it, guys. I'm working on it, okay? So, what other areas can you work on? Health, money, work, relationships, giving, learning, and fun. Now, these are the areas that I've identified as the areas that you need to apply that HPI, high performance individual ethic, to every single one of these areas in life. Becoming a high performance person is not just about excellence in business. It's about excellence in so many different parts of your life. These areas are the ones that I use for measurement and to be able to achieve high performance in as many different areas of my life as I can. For the people that I coach, You guys that are watching, if you know, you'll recognize these from the goals poster that I get everybody to fill out at the beginning of the year so that we can measure incrementally how you're doing in all these different parts of your life. Now, the reason I do this is many years ago, I remember meeting somebody who was super successful, really, really wealthy, and on the outside of looking in, you'd think, oh my God, this person is an absolute legend. They must wake up in the morning, do a little dance, sing a tune, and just praise the Lord every day that life is so awesome. This person was clinically depressed. This person was borderline suicidal. Even though they'd achieved what appeared to be the most amazing lifestyle, they were actually a wreck because they achieved success in pretty much one area or two areas, although they would argue with this one. I've never met a super successful business owner who doesn't think they can do better or hasn't got a little bit of imposter syndrome looking at the person that's even better than them. And that is just, it's mind-boggling for us, but I'll touch on that in a little bit. So getting these two right is only a small percentage of what you're striving for. You want to strive to be a high-performance person in all these different areas, because what we're actually looking for is we want happiness, guys. We want happiness, we want contentment, we want to be the person that wakes up in the morning whistling zippity-doo-dah. Nobody ever does that all the time, but we strive for it, and knowledge is power. Working on these is key. So, why should you strive to become an HPI, a high performance individual? Well, let me tell you why I'm striving. And by the way, as I said earlier on, a little bit of imposter syndrome kicking in for me that David's going to help me with. I don't consider myself a high performance individual yet. I consider myself somebody that's on the journey. But I tell you what, I'm working really hard at it. I'm trying really hard to be a high performance individual, and I'm getting there. But let me tell you why I do that. High performance individuals, statistically, they earn more. So when you look in business, 1% of the workforce produces 10% of the revenue. It's actually 5% of the workforce produce 25% of the revenue. In other words, it's the high performance individuals that actually bolster up the economy. They're the ones that make it happen. And as a result, they're worth a lot more to their employers or the business that they run. Therefore, being a high performance individual will elevate your revenue, your earning potential. When you perform really well, when you hit targets, when you smash targets, when you achieve excellence, it makes you feel freaking awesome. It makes you feel great. We all want to feel great. Achieving these things makes you feel good. You earn the respect from other people. When they see people, when you achieve, people see that the way that you've achieved it and the work that you've put in it, it earns respect. That makes you feel good. It's nice to earn the respect of your colleagues. It's even nicer to earn the respect of other HPIs. That is something special. You contribute more to your company, to society, to your associates, to the world at large. If you're a high performer, you contribute in whatever areas that you're performing in, and that is a good thing as long as it's legal. We don't want to be a high performance person in an inappropriate area. You see what I'm saying? And you'll achieve your goals quicker. You'll achieve your desired success quicker. You're going to be a happier person. So my advice is, if you're an entrepreneur or you've got any entrepreneurial leanings or you're looking to be super successful in your job, you need to strive to be an HPI. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little insight to my pursuit of becoming an HPI. And as I said, it's a journey. And I'm hoping to use one of our core values at BLAM, Inspire with Stories, to tell you a little bit about my story and how I got here. And that's a quote from me. Okay, inspire with stories. So I just want to reiterate, guys, I'm definitely a work in progress. I'm not putting myself up here as the shining example, because there is room for improvement in loads of different areas of my journey to becoming an HPI. Because when I look at those true high performers, like some of the guys in the TNACI, some of the friends and colleagues that I've got, I've got a lot of work to do in a lot of different areas, but I've got to tell you guys, I'm dedicated to it. I am dedicated. I'm confident I'm going to get there. So I did have to ask some of my colleagues earlier whether this is a funny photo because it's funny to me. This was me as I graduated from university many, many years ago. And I have to say, I was pretty full of myself back then. I was pretty full of myself. I got to tell you guys, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. For me, it was a given. You know, I designed my first logo that was commercially used at the age of 7. While I was at university, I bought my first property, and I did an HMO before people had even talked about HMOs, and rented it to my other university friends. When I came out of university, my one and only goal was to get a job so that I could learn from another entrepreneur. And I effectively went and interviewed businesses in the middle of a recession with my car and my big old Macs were a big old chunky thing back then, on my passenger seat, saying, I will come and work for you for the same amount of money that I would get if I was getting paid unemployment benefit, as long as I can mirror you, and I'll do as much work as you want to for that amount of money, which back then was £50 a week. And I managed to get 2 jobs that way. I got my first job where I worked for somebody, and he kind of took advantage of me. I ended up being a painter and decorator instead of a graphic designer. But then the second job that I got exactly what I planned for. And I worked for a company that is still in business now, a company called Design One. Absolutely loved it. The guy that ran it, Mark, was a true entrepreneur, proper inspiration. One of the first meetings I ever had with him, when he said, what do you want? Where do you see yourself in the future? I said, well, I want your job. And I was absolutely confident. But I've got to be honest, guys, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. And for me, it was a case of just being a sponge. And yeah, I kind of learned the hard way. I got to tell you, and just to be clear, back then, my idea of success was being a business owner, driving fast cars with loads of money, and just, you know, living that life of the aspirational entrepreneur, having nice holidays, having a nice house and all that kind of stuff. So what happened? 8 years. 8 years in that pursuit of being a sponge. I've got to be honest, that was much longer than I expected. I've got no regrets. But what did I learn on that journey? I learned that I tried, I failed, I observed, I tried again, I learned some more, I failed, and then I tried again. So this whole time, working for other people, I ended up having sort of 3 employers over that period of time. The whole time I'm thinking, I'm going to become an entrepreneur. I'm going to become an entrepreneur. I started a couple of businesses as my side hustles. They didn't pan out. I got offered more money. I got given a nice car. I got married. I started traveling a lot. I bought my first Porsche. I'm a Porsche nut, guys. That was one of my goals. And all of this happened whilst I had a job, and I didn't take the full plunge. Now, I should have started a lot sooner, but it took me 8 years of me kidding myself. I'm learning. I've got no regrets, guys. I've had a fantastic life, but that was longer than it should have been. And I like telling people, the ones that are pulling the trigger, sooner the better, sooner the better. So I started my first business, full-time business. That means I gave up my job. I handed over the keys to what was a fantastic car in my head at the time, my 406 coupe, brand new that I'd had, gutted to lose it, kept my Porsche, and started my first business in 2001. And what happened? A recession hit pretty much straight away. 9/11 happened. Everybody went into, it's recession mode. I found out Abby, my wife, was pregnant with our first child. Didn't see that one coming at that point in time. And I started that business with a business partner. I bought out my first business partner because I didn't know this at the time, but I was starting to become a high performance individual. I didn't really understand that wasn't really a thing back then, because what I found is not everybody will understand you when you've got really high standards, when you're super motivated, when you're working like a maniac. My business partner at the time was a really nice guy, you know, probably still is. I haven't spoken to him for years, but I just couldn't deal with the fact that I was working like a maniac and I didn't think that he was. My accountant at the time told me this. Most partnerships that break up because one partner is working harder than the other and starts to feel disenchanted, starts to feel hard done by. And it happens a lot. So I want to warn you, on your journey of endeavoring to become an HPI, a high performance individual, not everyone's going to understand you. You're going to get called a maniac. People are going to say, why are you working so hard? There's more to life than work. You know, you're going to kill yourself. You need to have a break, all this kind of stuff. I've heard it all. I still maintain I work just as hard as anybody else I know, and I've got more, if not more energy than anybody else. Working hard does not sap your energy when you are focused, when you are motivated, when you are hungry. People aren't going to understand that, so bear that in mind. So I did it. I applied it. I went full on at being a high performance individual, and I got to where I wanted to be. And so this was me 16 years ago now. I can't believe it. I know I haven't changed a bit, no difference there. But if you imagine when I first started my business and then I looked at this picture, I'd basically achieved my goals. I'd basically got there. I'd got the fancy business with some fantastic clients, a beautiful barn conversion, loads of really talented staff working for me. I had my Porsche that was my dream car. That car is all liveried up. I was driving to Le Mans. I was having fantastic holidays. We had a race car that we sponsored. I was living the dream according to my previous ambitions. But guess what, guys? When I got there, I wasn't satisfied. I wasn't satisfied. I was looking at where I should be really. And I realized there was so much more that I could give. I wanted so much more. So this is where I started developing a better understanding of the mindset of success. And this is really where the learning I'm hoping is going to come into it for you, because it took me a while to get there. It took me a while to realize mindset is absolutely everything. Mindset and understanding your own mindset is so fundamental. So here's a quote for you. Henry Ford, an absolute legend in business. And I heard this quote right at the beginning of what I would call phase 2 of my entrepreneurial journey, when I started to understand there's so much more to success than what is perceived on the surface. There's so much more to growing a business, to becoming successful, to achieving what you want to achieve, than just running a business successfully. As I demonstrated earlier when I talked about the guy that was, super depressed. Now, Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. Never has a truer word been said. If you do not believe in yourself, I can guarantee you're not going to make it. You've got to have that self-belief. This self-belief may not come naturally to you. It may not be something that is inbuilt into you. And therefore, you have to use tools to generate a successful mindset to become an HPI. Now, when I heard this first and foremost, Henry Ford, I'd heard of Henry Ford, I knew about the Ford Motor Company, but I didn't really know much about him. And that's where I was introduced to probably the world's greatest business book. And it's the world's greatest business book. And I've met so many super successful people that will tell you the same thing. And yet, it's not really that much about business. It's about what goes on up here. The book is called Think and Grow Rich. Now, it's sold millions of copies. I think it's the #1 best-selling business book on the planet. If you've never heard of it, if you don't know much about it, please, please, please read this book, because it's effectively a documented account of how to be a super successful person, of how to be an HPI. And one of the key things about it is Napoleon Hill, who interviewed over 500 entrepreneurs at the time, back in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, he dissected what these super successful people did to become successful. And one of the things that stood out to me in that was, first of all, Henry Ford was in Napoleon Hill's mastermind group. And a mastermind group is about being in a room with the right people. Because as the absolute legend Jim Rohn says, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Now, I didn't know what a mastermind group was when I first heard this information. For me, it was alien. But I realized, having read Think and Grow Rich, and by the way, I've read that book now, I'm into double figures easily. It's just an amazing book. The mastermind part of it is one of the most important things, because if you are not spending time with people that are on your wavelength, are in your aspirational group, and are effectively in the position that you are striving to be in, you're going to find it much more difficult. And the mastermind group is such a powerful way of everybody in that mastermind group helping each other achieve success, helping you become high performance. So I joined a mastermind group, and my first mastermind group, I didn't even realize it was a mastermind group when I joined it. It was probably the fundamentally most educational mindset shift I've ever had. And it was actually called the President's Club. It was a group of entrepreneurs that came together on a Friday morning, every Friday without fail, to what I thought originally was to learn how to become a salesperson. But it turned out to be so much more than that. What the President's Club actually teaches is how to become a high performance individual and how to strive to be better in every aspect of your life. How to push yourselves, how to be accountable, how to learn appropriately, and how to reach success. So I'm now going to run through that first mastermind group, the key elements that helped me and what it taught me, all of which was an absolute revelation to me, even though I've been running a so-called successful business for many years. So the first thing is mindset. Now, I've talked about this already, but your mindset is your business. And if you're in business, you've got to make sure you look after this. I promise you guys, it's the most important thing to get right. I didn't really know this at the time. Most of us go through life winging it, letting our emotions dictate to us how we feel. When you master your own mindset, that no longer happens, because it's really important to understand that you can actually influence how you feel by using the right kind of tools. Something that David Rahman is absolutely awesome at is being able to help people understand how to get the most out of tools that can help your mindset improve. Here's a really shocking statistic for those of you that are in business or thinking of going into business. 50% of startups fail in the first 5 years. Not one of those startups had the intention of failing or thought that that would be them, but that is a full half of the people that start a business fail in the first 5 years. A lot of that comes down to mindset. In fact, I would argue if they all manage their mindset, then we get those statistics right up. We really could. So the positivity that your mindset experiences is your responsibility. We're going to talk about this a little bit later. Now, you need to know yourself. Now, Socrates, one of the greatest philosophers that has ever lived, says to know thyself is the beginning of wisdom. The first thing they got us to do in the President's Club was to do a psychometric test. Now, there are loads of different tests that you can do, but you need to start on this journey of knowing yourself, because understanding what your strengths and weaknesses are, what you're good at, what you're not good at, is going to help you understand how you can become a high performance person. If you're really, going up against something that is just right outside of your skill set, if you're really, trying to put a square peg in a round hole, it can become super, super demotivating. If you know yourself and you understand your strengths and weaknesses, this gives you the power to overcome these feelings. It gives you the power to manage your feelings. Now, I always like to focus on strengths rather than weaknesses, which just makes complete sense. If you've got a football team and you've got somebody who's a fantastic goalkeeper, you don't say, we're going to put you on the front line as a forward because we just want to practice on what you're not good at. What you're going to do, you're going to keep them in goal and you're going to keep them practicing getting better at being in goal. It's the same with you. You'll have strengths and weaknesses. You need to focus on your strengths and make them freaking awesome. Okay. Now, this one is such a powerful idea. And when I'm coaching, this is very often not default in people. So understanding the principle of what I'm about to tell you is really, really important. Taking responsibility for your business, and in particular, the way in which you respond to things in your business and your life, is absolutely key. Because I love this quote. Jack Canfield said, taking responsibility means never blaming anyone else for anything you are being, doing, having, or feeling. In other words, it's all my fault, and that is okay. Because if you give power to some other circumstance or situation, you let the power go from yourself, and therefore you are impotent. You've got no influence over your situation. And it is imperative that you do not give that power away. Take responsibility. I love this picture. So it's a famous picture, and it's Harry Truman's desk, famous president from the US. And it really emphasizes the importance of decision making. And you see down here, the buck stops here. And he famously had this on his desk. You're in business, you are a leader. You've got to inspire, you've got to motivate, you've got to take responsibility for absolutely everything that happens. And if you let blame get in the way of your business, you are giving away your power, and you cannot afford to do that. Because by taking responsibility, you're going to fix stuff quicker. So make sure that you do, because that's how you can make decisions. So never let people, circumstance, the weather, or the side of the bed that you got out of influence your attitude. Ever do that. Okay. Don't let outside influences dictate how you feel and act. It's so important, guys. So important. Take responsibility. Okay. From now on, everything on these slides, I've got that principle in mind. So if you're going to work like a maniac, you've got to take responsibility for that. You've got to actually work like a maniac. Now, this is an unusual quote. I didn't think I'd ever be using a quote from Margaret Thatcher, but it is spot on. She said, I do not know anyone who has got to the top without hard work. That is the recipe. It cannot be done any other way. That is the recipe. You always see these things, don't you? That we're bombarded with information, and whether it's on YouTube or TikTok, of these super successful people that make out like it was a breeze and they did it in, I just did an hour a day or whatever it might be to achieve this level of success. Guys, they are unicorns, or they are full of it. Every single super successful person that I have met, every single one of them, the ultra high net worth individuals, the absolute peak of what we see as success in the business, the people that I have mixed with and known, work like freaking maniacs. Every single one of them is a lunatic as perceived by normal people. Even if they're in a position now where they've figured out where they don't have to work as hard, the vast majority of them still work like maniacs because they are high performance individuals. Look at Richard Branson, for example. He still works like a maniac. He's still on it all the time. It doesn't feel like work when you love what you do, and working like a maniac becomes habit. So don't kid yourself that you haven't got to work like a maniac. I promise you, you have. Okay. And when you do that, you're going to fail. You're going to fail along the way. When I was in President's Club, I learned this the hard way, because we all hate failure. Nobody likes failure. It is just it just makes you feel awful. And I've had some pretty big failures, I've got to tell you. But just like Walt Disney said, all the adversity that I've had in my life, all my troubles, my obstacles, have strengthened me. You may not realize it, but when it happens, you get a kick in the teeth. It may be the best thing in the world for you. And it's horrible at the time, guys, but these failures educate you. And I heard a really great methodology the other day that is a high performance individual trait. When something really bad happens to you, when you get kicked in the teeth, when you get knocked down, when you have a failure, you just say, good, because look at what it's taught me. I'm not going to make that mistake again. I'm going to come back stronger. It's going to give me this education. Failures really are learning experiences, and we should treat them that way. If you do not fail, I would argue it's impossible to be super successful. You've got to have the failures. And when you go on that journey of becoming a high performance individual, you will fail. Good. Learn from it. Embrace it. Know that it's going to happen, and use all these other tools to move forward from it. And in doing that, you've got to use discipline. So on the President's Club, it's where it really taught me the way that you have to be completely and utterly disciplined in order to achieve success. Now, Michael J. Fox, who's an absolute legend, says discipline is just doing the same thing the right way, whether anyone's watching or not. Somebody said to me, in fact, he was at the President's Club, you've got to do everything that you know that you need to do effectively and efficiently, as if your hero is watching you. The discipline to be able to achieve excellence over and over again, even when it doesn't feel like you're making progress. So the art of doing repetitive tasks to keep on going, even when you don't see results that you know are the right tasks, is really tough. Just like in business, if you think about the sales process, years ago when I first started learning sales, when I was in the President's Club, they told me that it takes 7 points of contact to achieve the first meeting or the first appointment in business. That was back 15, 16 years ago. When I did a test 5 years ago, it was 14 points. I went to a seminar last week that told me it was between 300 and 500 points of contact now, because we are bombarded with so many different signals. In other words, you could put in 299 different calls and messages and DMs, and it would appear like you've done absolutely nothing. But if you've got the discipline to do that one extra email, that one extra DM, that one extra phone call, that's the one that can get through and land you the deal. You cannot deny the weight of the work if you know it's the right work, but you won't always see the results when you're through it, but you're only one, you can get to the point where you do enough, you're only 1 point away. So, and that comes to making habits. So to be disciplined, you have to make the things that make you achieve the high performance a habit. So Aristotle said, another fantastic orator from the past, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. And if we want to be a high performance person, we've got to strive for excellence. We've got to keep that improvement going every single time. And we've got to make sure that we make them habit. Because then we can define our vision. The first time I ever heard of a vision board was when I was in the President's Club, and they got us to make a vision board. If you haven't done one, at the end of this presentation today, at the end of the seminar, we'll be giving away some tools that will allow you to do your own vision board. But Steve Jobs says, if you're working on something excited that you really care about, you don't have to be pushed. Your vision pulls you. This comes back to your why, guys. Remember what Forbes said? High performance individuals have a why. They've got a why because they've got a vision. They know exactly where they're going. And then this is one that a lot of us really need to be reminded of when we are hyper-focused on being a high-performance individual. Sometimes we have to stop and just be grateful. If I look back at the picture of me when I'd achieved the success that I'd been striving for, and I was there looking smug with my car, but inside I'm going, this isn't good enough. A little moment of gratitude was what was required at that moment, and I take time to be grateful every single day at the moment. Jeff Bezos said, I'm very lucky. I feel very grateful. And I think that anyone who does not feel grateful for the good luck is out of touch with reality. Now, there's a super high performance individual. Preaching gratitude is something that I find really, really common in high performance individuals. It's part of the formula. So remember to practice gratitude. If you want a quick tip, just stop yourself now and just think back to where you were this time last year. Look at how far you've come and just take a little moment to be grateful for that, to be thankful for the journey that you've been on. The good and the bad. Remember the failures, you're grateful for them too, for what they've taught you. So you might have had a really bad year. You can still be grateful for it because of what you've learned and how you've grown as a person. Because no matter what's happened in the last year, I guarantee there is plenty to be grateful for. Exercise that gratitude and then exercise action taking. I said at the beginning of this presentation, I want you to take action immediately with at least one of the things that you've heard on this presentation. And as Tony Robbins says, the path to success is to take massive, determined action. Massive, determined action. And that means taking action, managing your fear, understanding procrastination, being accountable, doing the repetitions of those actions with discipline. That formula will get you there to be an HPI, high performance individual. And to keep you accountable to all this and make sure that you're taking the right action to get yourself a mentor. And I refer to Richard Branson. A mentor is someone who can give you guidance, advice, and support when you need it. Mentor can be so, so important. I'm meeting mine straight after this meeting tonight. I'm really looking forward to it. And then make sure you get an education. I remember when I was in the President's Club, they gave us a manual. I'm not even exaggerating. It was that thick. It was the equivalent of doing what they said 2 MBAs. God, I was daunted by that. Didn't realize how hard I had to work at being a business owner, how much I had to learn, how many different elements there were to it. Education is key. And as Brian Tracy said, to learn more, you must learn more. To earn more, you must learn more. You've got to be educating yourself. I'm a great advocate for educating myself while I'm in the car, when I'm doing my workout, audio, video, courses. So, so important. And then finally, stay broke until you don't have to. Warren Buffett said, do not save what is left after spending. Instead, spend what is left after saving. And that is a really important one, because as you start to go up that road to success, you need to know how to manage your money, because you can easily spend it on things that you don't need to spend it on before you've really made enough to support your future. And then this was the foundation of what I learned in the President's Club, is learning to sell the right way. This is where I was introduced to a legend, Zig Ziglar. Stop selling, start helping. And that's really what the basis of my business is all about, helping people. So when I sell to somebody, I know it's not really about selling, it's about helping them start a business. And I love that. I absolutely love it, because I know every time I convince them to start that business, and some people take a lot of cajoling, they always thank me afterwards. So finally, overthinking. This is so common, and it's going to hold you back as becoming an HPI. And this was something they taught me in my mastermind. And as Dr. Wayne Dyer says, it's none of your business what other people think of you. One of my favorite quotes. Most of the overthinking that goes on in our brains is worrying about what other people think. And we need to make sure that we realize that's none of our business. Overthinking, procrastination, more concerned, other people are more concerned about themselves than they are about you. Remember, taking action is key. I'm going right back to the beginning about Forbes, decision making, overcoming fear and taking decision. Overthinking will kill that. And then time management is the last key to this. As Elon Musk says, time is the ultimate currency. Time is the ultimate currency. Time management is absolutely key. Diary management is absolutely key. These are the things that I learned as I went through the President's Club training, as I started to mix with all these people. One final thing, reward yourself for success, not mediocrity, because as Steve Jobs says, the journey is the reward. And as you go through this journey of becoming a high performance person, you're going to need little wins on the way, because as I said way back there, when you sometimes achieve what you think is success, you're not necessarily satisfied. So you've got to make sure you reward yourself along the way. Otherwise, you can hit a wall when you get to where you think you need to be, because it might not be what you expect. Reward yourself along the way. So the President's Club was awesome to me. I actually went from that to the next tier up, which was another mastermind group. And since that, I've been in several other mastermind groups. And every single time I've been in a mastermind group, the value that it has given me, you just can't measure. I was in one for a while called the League of Warriors, which was based around a book called The Way of the Warrior. That's worth looking at. I joined the Founders Board with Digital Marketer with the Scalable Company, which was fantastic. Did that one. I'm now in one called Sims Distillery, which does a retreat twice a year, as well as weekly meetings. And the quality of the people in the room is what can influence you to become that high performance individual. So to finish off, I just want to give you a couple of bits of further reading. Remember, and please write this down, if you haven't read it before, Think and Grow Rich. If you have read it before, read it again. The second book that I read that had the biggest influence on me about becoming an HPI was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. When I realized that intelligence has got nothing to do with success, and Rich Dad, Poor Dad perfectly articulates that one. And then finally, somebody who is dedicated still to being a high performance individual, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you are employed or on that journey of life, as we all are, is Brian Tracy. So Brian Tracy, any of his work, I recommend, because that will help you understand the benefit of becoming a high performance individual. Brilliant. So thank you for listening, guys. I've been Grant Stain, and I hope you found that of value. So next up, we have got Coach Jag in the room. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. So
Awesome.
I'm just going to check my sound. There we go. Check I can hear you. Brilliant. We all good? Sound check?
I'm all good. Check, check. Mic 1, 2, 1, 2.
1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. There we go.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Fantastic. Brilliant. So today, John, tell us a little bit about what you're presenting.
So it's it's funny. Well, thank you first of all for giving me this opportunity. This is my first webinar, so I'm losing my virginity today. Webinar virginity. Yeah, try. So today, it's a good actually because you haven't actually seen my presentation, have you?
No, I haven't. No, I'm looking forward to it, mate. I am.
So, guys, if you don't see me next week, you know
it wasn't good enough.
Yeah, I'll be gone. I want to touch on a few things that obviously you have, because we have to, the whole webinar is, very much themed in that. So I'm glad actually by watching yours, I've got some very good elements that should fall in line with what you've said. So a lot of sales, procrastination, and systems and processes are key elements in terms of what I'm trying to embed into everybody's agency and coach and also mine as well, so yeah, that's about it really in a nutshell. So awesome. I can crack on.
I'll let you crack on. And yeah, thanks for everybody who listened to my presentation. I'm going to hand you over to John. Looking forward to seeing what you're doing. Thanks, mate. Take it away.
Thank you. Make sure everyone can everyone hear me? It's all going through. I just need to know, because it's all gone quiet at the moment. So I just want to make sure everyone can hear me still. Grant, am I still live?
You're all good, mate. It's all good. Yeah,
all good.
All good.
Yeah. Thank you. Just wanted to get that confirmation.
I was exactly the same as you when I did mine. You've got no feedback, have you?
No. I was just like,
I've not done a seminar with this system before either, so. But yeah, you're all good.
It just went really quiet. Then I was like, oh no, it's all gone. Brilliant. Right. So thanks again, Grant, for giving me this opportunity. As he's touched on there, I put my coach, your coach, purely because I'm a coach in progress, and I've been coaching now partners for about 1.5 years. And I, as a lot of other partners now know, I'm actually a Bland partner as well. And as you can see in the bottom left-hand corner there, Mad Hat Media is my agency that started in 2018. So I've been going for about 5 years now. And Grant approached me. I think actually I wasn't having the greatest time at the time. I think I was up and down with the agency, but I was really sort of I fell out of love a little bit out of it, I think. And he just sort of gave me a bit of a lifeline, say, look, maybe get yourself out of the fire line for a bit and come work directly for Bland, just help us out with things. And I was like, okay, well, it's sort of felt a bit, I wasn't sure at the time anyway, but I did it. And how I became, I guess, the partner coach, I think Grant won't mind me sharing, is just like, I gave the, I started doing direct sales, but then I actually decided of like, well, what would help me as a partner? So I came up with this blueprint that I jotted down and presented. And I remember the day vividly. I probably Grant will remember it very well. I was waiting for him to turn up to the office, and it was in the old custard factory that we used to work. And I just finished this on my laptop outside this cafe, and I put the laptop down, and I was like, looked at the time. He said he'll be here in 5 minutes. I'm sure he'll be here. So I just quickly looked at my phone, and then I was like, I went onto Sky Sports app, just checking I was like, oh yeah, I'm a team player. I started playing. And he must have just been literally just round the corner, and he just came up and said, what are you doing? What are you doing? You should be working. I was just like, had no time, no feedback, no time to write. I just let him rant, and I was like, oh my God, what are we doing? Half an hour later, I presented this to him. He brought Rachel and Dan a thing at time at the office, and I think I put a bit of a span in the works, really, in terms of what I could potentially do for the business and help. And then that's basically, I just wanted to show, because looking at this blueprint, I'm sure there's a few partners that can relate to some of the things that we're actually trying to embed into their agency, some of the sort of tried and tested things that we've got, and also the systems and processes that we're trying to put in, and the reasons for it. And it's all stemmed from this sort of blueprint that I sort of came up with in terms of trying to help partners out. And that's, some of these are key elements now in terms of where we sort of start and continue their agency journey. So that I just wanted to sort of show that, and where Coach Jag basically came from, because I think from that day Grant was like, okay, well, maybe there's something else we can, you could potentially help us with, in that sense. And so that's where that started from. One of the first things that I did one of the lives, actually, you probably remember, towards the end of last year, I created what I thought was a cycle of the seas. And it's based obviously on procrastination, as well as you can see at the bottom. But we have, a fantastic CRM system, which is the hub of everybody's business. It really is the sort of where the foundation of where you can actually grow and organize your business. But even with something like that, in your journey and in the way that you are, set up at the beginning, there's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of everything's happening at once. There's a lot of, what am I doing? How am I doing it? Things there. So when that happens, it's inevitable. We have things that take us away from the chaos, like checking our Facebook. Oh yeah, it's lunchtime, I better go and eat some food. Oh well, just check my email, Instagram, all the things that are just pushing us away from our daily work ways, basically. And then obviously, when you have the goals of the day and they don't get hit, or you feel you haven't achieved anything, you maybe haven't got a sale, you haven't even done an audit or anything like that, that to-do list has been like, oh, and then you get your inevitable brain fog, and then the self-doubt comes in, and then you're like, what's my problem? Why is it, what this? And then, we, as naturally, we tend to blame other people other than ourselves, or systems, or whatever it might be, in order that, to sort of justify the fact, like, oh well, it was just the people that I was ringing. Oh well, it's just, the shit that I'm sailing. Oh well, or whatever it might be. So the cycle of the seas is really just where everyone goes through, on a daily basis. Grant, in his times of the business, I'm sure can relate to a lot of the things, and everybody, watching this in terms of being a partner, or potentially, partner to be, shows that actually, we all suffer, if you like, the same sort of things, as the same sort of things continually happen. Once, we can actually sort of justify some of the things that we're doing, that's where the consistency comes in. Once consistency kicks in, we get the clarity. Clarity leads to conversations. And a real cool, real clear element for me is like when you have got that confidence, when you are turning up on a daily basis, when you are being, that consistency with, and then it sort of makes more sense of what you're saying, what you're saying, it's all there, and you're leading to those better conversations. There's a calmness all about it. And actually, that you don't sound desperate as you can do when you haven't got a sale, or you're just trying to sort of push an agenda to somebody without actually giving them any value. But the more tried and tested you are in terms of all the things that you do, the calmer it becomes. And you have that sort of tranquility in your mind. Your mind's not racing around and becoming this sort of hectic overthinking self. You get that calm, and then, like I said, it all leads back to the CRM, because the CRM is a way of managing all the people, potential people, going through various pipelines, your leads going into your database, conversations that you're having. It's all organized in one place, which is fantastic. And like talking about, 5 years ago when I started, I didn't really have a CRM, so it was haphazard. It was here, there, and everywhere. And and now knowing what we can provide for partners with the CRM is a jewel in the crown in terms of what we can do. The automations are great and everything like that, but actually just sort of logging into a system where oh great, I spoke to Bob 3 days ago, he said to call back on Thursday at 10, so you got the calendar management, but you've also got conversations all in one place. So you've got that audit trail of like, okay, well, he mentioned this, or I'll bring that up again today, and everything like that. So that was the presentation I did probably towards the end of last year. It is in our Facebook group, so you can obviously have a look at that in more detail in terms of going through that. But I just want to sort of bring that up as kind of like where a sort of theme to what we're trying to do here in terms of the presentation. So we've all got the organization eventually in terms of what we're doing. But, if you're not in business, well, every business equals sales. So sales equals business, business equals sales. And all selling is change. So you're not selling a thing, you're selling the results of what that thing does, right? So a common mistake a lot of partners do, they go through the training, they understand a lot of the things that they've done, and then all of a sudden, when it's about getting on the phone, first thing they do, oh, I'm going to phone up this business, like, hi business, I'm Rollo Agency, who looks after your website? Now, nowhere in the training have we said to do that, first of all. But that's what they're doing. That they sort of because it's more comfortable potentially of addressing that kind of situation. Oh, I'm just going to phone some business and say who looks after the website, and I go, oh, I can build your website. Would you like one? Now, for a business owner, actually, fundamentally, what they do is actually care about what the results are. Maybe a return of investment potentially, but actually, whatever your product or service is not what you're selling. You're selling the results of what that can do. The website brings awareness, brings organic traffic, it brings profiles and visits and everything like that. So that's the result that we're selling. So we should draw on, almost reverse engineer some of the things that we tend to think would naturally come out of our mouths, just to go, okay, well, here let's work it backwards and actually say, oh, okay, great, hey, client A, love your website, curious, how many website visits do you get on a daily basis? Now it's a simple question, but it might be very difficult for that business owner to answer, and that then opens a door for a further conversation in terms of the opportunity. When I first started, I think I was just looking after or seeking people who just didn't have websites. I thought, well, that's my target audience. I'm selling websites. Here, have my here, Mr. Business Owner with no website. Let me have do you want a website? Because you haven't got one. Was actually, sometimes some of these businesses and some of the trades that we, niches that we go after, if they're not a website now, they're probably never ever going to be sold on one, even though they might think they probably need one. They probably won't be. Actually, the opportunity we have as AI websites and all our other products and services is not because they've never heard of it or they don't have it. Is actually just improving what they might have, because they might have the best website looking in the world and nobody comes to it. And so we're all about strategies in terms of getting that change for the business to be like, look, you've got a great website, or why aren't you getting any more people to it? So that's all selling is change for that business. And the way we present that should always be done in terms of what the results are and not the thing, what we're doing. Hey, I need a website. Okay, great. Well, why do you need a website? And also actually pulling it back on them in terms of that. So it just really opens up the questions and conversations that you're looking to have. Now, as some of you've seen with my coaching, I've got a lot of acronyms on my whiteboard. This is one of their favorite ones though. And it used to say on my board, thanks to Bill, who's one of our newest partners, because he saw it on my board, and it's normally keep it simple, stupid. Now, it's not to say that you are stupid, but it's basically a way of just saying, look, systems and processes, the simpler they are, the easier it is to, help the business go forward. You start overcomplicating things, and then, that's where potentially disaster happens. So I think this acronyms come from the 1930s or something. So it's quite an old one, but it's something that resonates quite a lot in the entrepreneurial space, because everybody thinks they need to overcomplicate things at times, and actually, the simpler the better, and it will help you take those actions. So as that, I thought I'd develop, or I've created my own acronym based on sales, a brand new one. This is going to be going for years, I'm sure. But here we go. So this is the one I came up with. So related to sales, we have simple again, actions, leverage, experience, successfully. And it says exactly what it says on the tin. That's what acronyms are all about, aren't they? Whatever your tasks are on a daily basis, we do have to keep, we do have to simplify it. We don't need to be overcomplicated. Even with the automations that we have in place these days, they're very pretty simple to actually set up. But those simple actions, they leverage your as a result of the experience that you get from it, because you have consistently turned up, because the actions aren't overwhelming. You're doing them, they get done now, and then that leads to the leverage of the experience that you gain from those actions, and from experience comes success. So that's the one I came up with. I don't know how long he is, if at all it's going to last. everyone picks it up, but I thought it'd be just quite fun to make up my own acronym based on sales, and seeing actually how, based on this sort of simple keep it simple, it's just a way of looking at something differently. And I like the fact that I was going to put expertise instead of experience, but actually experience is really expertise in terms of that, because we might not have a qualification to be quoted expertise, but experience sometimes far outweighs expertise in many ways, and especially in your entrepreneurial journey, you'll actually be gaining more experience that then leads to the expertise, and giving you the leverage over the clients and people that you're looking to help. So what is the most key component to your business? Something that I was like, well, looking at all the things that, the different facets in business that could be there, and one thing really does stick out in terms of the main problem that most partners struggle with, and it's probably one of the easiest ones to fix. It is leads. Yeah, leads are the lifeline of your business. Without leads, your business will soon stop, eventually dry up. Now, I can give somebody 1,000 leads today, and then next week they go, oh yeah, went through them, they're rubbish. All right, okay, what is that then? So it might be something to do with their approach, what the messaging they've done. So we go back in terms of reverse engineering, why didn't it work? Or it might be the niche itself, it might be any other excuse for not working. But the point is you need to, as a business owner, have a consistent and reliable way to bring new clients into your business. You have to have a consistent and reliable way to bring new clients into your business. So whether that's a good marketing campaign, whether that's paid, whether that's organic, you need to be constantly allowing your business to be drawn into getting more leads every day. Whether you pay for somebody to give you leads, whether you use software to get the leads themselves, it has to be consistent one of the first things I say to a lot of partners at the beginning is the 5 a day. So, you know, add 5 leads to your database every day. You know, you do that 5 days a week, that's 25 leads. You do that for the whole month, that's 100 leads. Whole year, 1,200 leads that you have handpicked and gone, right, this is an amazing business. I'm going to really, you know, I'm going to do some research. I'm going to find out, and, you know, that's just a very small number. Now you can obviously use that as just a base of what you're doing. But the point is actually it's doing it, getting it, building up your database, building up your list. You know, because if you don't have this in place, your business will dry up. I know at the beginning of my journey, I did a few Facebook posts. I got a few referrals, and I was just going, great, this is brilliant. This is going to help, you know, my business is set. Now, everybody loves a referral, and referrals are good, but it's not a business strategy in terms of building up your business. You can't rely on that, especially at the beginning. Now, going forward, you know, you might build your brand up so much that you are getting an inbound flow of leads, but that's the point. You've built it up in a way that gets that consistent and reliable way of bringing new clients into your business. So anything that you don't take away or do take away from this, I would say concentrate on getting leads into your CRM, your database, whatever you use to keep hold of that data and use it. You know, you need to be consistent with it. If you don't have that consistency, you will struggle. And you know, one of the things as well, just to touch on as well, is some partners of, you know, some niches have been like, oh, you know, the most common thing is like, we're so busy, that's fine, we're so busy. And there's been some industries, especially after COVID, that have, like, you know, like the building trades and stuff like that, where they're just chock a block with work. It is like, oh, mate, we don't need any more clients. Great. Okay. So, you know, but what happens when that dries up? You know, there's no, you know, it's very short term thinking and be like, great, okay, well, you know, brilliant. You're busy now, but, you know, or you're busy. So where do we take yourself to the next level? You know, because at the end of the day, whatever business is at stage at the moment, it will potentially dry up eventually. And if they haven't got any backup plan, or they're not planning for that drying up period, then that's where they go, oh no, oh God, I should have done this, or I should have done this. You know, panic sleeps in, because they didn't have the infrastructure of actually keeping those sort of consistent flow of leads coming into the business. So there you go. Now, we focus on having conversations, and the reason for it is because our 73-point audit is about opening up conversations for that. So your conversations will only be as good as the quality of the leads that you acquire. Okay, so that's why it's really important when we give you leads, or where you get leads, wherever, you clean up your data and you do some research on those people, because the more personalized you can be in your outreach, the more responses you're going to get, the more opportunity you are going to have of having the right conversations with the right people. Okay, you know, so classic example of partner A, say, for example, say I give them 10 leads, they're all info at, and partner B, I give same leads, or, you know, info ats. Now, partner B goes, oh, right, the info ats, I don't know who owns this business. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a little bit of research on each business, find out actually who owns it, go on LinkedIn, go on Company's House, go on, you know, all these, we've got information's out there, right? Find on Facebook admin page. So by doing that, then all of a sudden those 10 info ats is now Bob at, John at, Patricia at, you know, whatever you want to call it at. And now, who do you think like would have the better opportunity? Partner A, who just goes info ats and sends a blast generic email to those 10 people, or partner B, who spent a little bit more extra time on curating that list a little bit better, making sure the data is of higher quality, potentially even hyper personalizing it. Hey Bob, saw your blog on water softeners, really interesting, just curious, you know. So leading in with things like that Whereas the info at, it could go to Bob, but it could go to a gatekeeper and they just delete their email and go boom. And then, partner A's moaning like, oh, the data's crap. Oh, the data, oh, it's something this, oh my, or it's nothing about the messaging. Well, let's have a look at the messaging, or that template didn't work, or they do this or do that because they didn't take the extra time with it, So get the quality in at the first place, do the dirty work, make sure it's right, and then it will it'll definitely outweigh this quality that you obtain by doing so. So yeah, it's the dirty work. Nobody likes doing it at the end of the day, but that time you take will actually save you time in the future, and potentially, you like say, your response rates, your open rates are going to be a lot better and not higher. So a lot of people know I like to visualize a lot of things and have sort of visualized things like that came with the blueprint, I suppose, in there. So with daily actions, you don't want to overcomplicate things, as we've just discussed. Want to keep it simple, but we just want to get a sort of clearer picture of the business and the infrastructure that we're trying to build. Because if you are like, of recent times, we've heard of partners potentially flipping their business and selling and things like that. Now, there's no way a partner could potentially sell the business without having systems and processes in place. And you building it from the start, your foundation is going to be a key element to potentially, if you wanted to go down that route, do it. Or more importantly, in terms of scaling, employing people. Now, if some partners, without even one sale, potentially are looking like, can I hire a VA? Can I do this? Can I, salespeople or high, commission only? Going down all this route, and which we don't suggest, by the way, just to let you know, purely because we want every partner to sort of get their hands dirty at the bit, especially at the beginning, because they need to understand their business. They need to understand how to acquire, how to put the systems and processes in place. Because if you don't have systems and processes in place, you don't have a business, really. You just have a hobby that's not going anywhere. It's a bit haphazard, and there's no way you could potentially hire people anyway. You need to have things that are really solid in place. And by doing so, these daily actions become a lot easier to achieve. Outreach, key element, because what we want to do is we want to book those 73-point audits. 73-point audits are our free value add that we're giving to the business to open up conversations. Remember, not to sell, we're selling results, right? So the result of the audit brings up the opportunity to sell. That 73-point audit is really, really powerful in terms of opening up those conversations, because it allows the business owner to be like, oh, wow, yeah, we used to do that. Never thought about doing that. Oh, wow, that's a great idea. These are the sort of things that happen after and during the audit, which is why it's really, really powerful tool. And, I was speaking to another part the other day, and what he was going to do is chop some of the audit up, just tailor it to his niche, and just focus on marketing. So what we're going to do, is actually take elements of the audit and create some content from it. So little things like that, just thinking out the box of terms of that, is what we try and coach partners to do, because there's 73 points in that order. That's 73 potential single individual bits of content that you can market out to your audience. Pick 5 and just do a sort of top 5 tips of how to get more businesses for, clients for your business. PDF, free download, build your list at the same time. All these little things is what we're trying to teach partners in order to build up their infrastructure. If you start building lists yourself for your business, again, value add in terms of that. If you've got a agency wanting to sell today, and plus another agency who's got a list of potentially 20, 30,000 people of a database, now obviously that's going to be a huger value than the one without the list that haven't been bothered to do it. Omni-channel approach, I mean, look, we can all go and say, look, you just need to send an email, and you send enough of them and you'll get through to somebody in there. But different niches have different ways of responding to your message. So we've got the white collar, we've got the blue collar. People, professionals tend to be on LinkedIn, so there's no probably point in trying to message them on Facebook, and vice versa. So we do always have to have an omni-channel approach. We do always have one person should at least get 4 to 5 touch points from you, because all of a sudden, think about it, you've got an opportunity here to speak to the owner. You send an email, you phone them up, you send a direct message, you leave a voice note, another direct message on another platform, and all of a sudden they've got these notifications going off, and they're, oh, Bob's, who is this Bob, and that's really important. You can't just rely on one. Now, there might be, with your persistence, practice, they'll be like, this niche is only responsive on email. So what we're going to do, we're going to double down on email and reach out to those people. Great. But you need to do the work beforehand and find that out, so you need to have that approach. And I'd argue you'd always need to have some kind of omni-channel approach in your outreach in terms of what you're doing. And, guys, once you get this in motion, it's rinse, repeat, recycle, and you just need to keep going. The beautiful thing about adding monthly recurring income to your business is that doesn't actually increase your workload. You've got a fantastic team that look after the majority of the services. Some are actually really low maintenance. I have one particular client I speak to once a year, and that's it. So there's especially with our with our web services, the SEO team that we have, they've got fantastic reporting. So fundamentally, you don't even really need to speak to your client on a monthly basis for that as well. They get a nice report. So it actually, the busier, the more successful you become potentially in terms of that, and then you delegating the right things to manage, the micromanage, if you like. You don't actually bring more to your table, and that allows you some partners to work 2-3 days a week, if that, or know that they can spend a little bit longer on holidays or whatever it might be. So whatever their goals align, they can make their dreams happen. But it all starts with action. I've been looking at sort of a lot of habits in terms of what makes people successful, but also what's out there as well. When you're in this sort of realm of online, and you get sort of consumed with sort of gurus, non-gurus, whatever you want to call it, is that there's obviously consistency in habits in terms of what these things. Now, I think Grant's touched on a few of these actually already, so I'm not going to dwell too many on them. But one of the probably controversial ones, but I think it was that Tim Rome, was it? You're the average of the first 5 people that you had. This unfriend element, be willing to let go of friendships. Sounds silly, but not everybody's going to be on your wavelength, especially if you take the opportunity to do and build an entrepreneurial business or your own business. Not everybody's people are going to think you're mad. Hey, Mad Hat Media. Right? So people were like, okay, so you are going to lose people along the way, but it's actually something about letting go of that that constraint. People will doubt you. Oh, it'll never work. Oh, getting that negativity, just releasing it. That's really important. We've talked about mentors. Grant has, and find multiple mentors. At the end of the day, we've got mentors of different caliber, and also for different aspects of our lives, especially business, might be health, might be fitness, and all that kind of stuff. So don't just stick to one. There is one for everyone, but there could be more for you in terms of different aspects of your life. Don't my journey's been quite lonely in many aspects, because you are on your own, and especially at the beginning in terms of that. You've always got a team to do the work for you, but especially if you're a brand partner, but But getting comfortable in isolation is a real key element, because it allows you to find yourself in a more positive way. And that then leads to the art of sort of self-discipline in terms of what you can achieve and actually mind over matter and all that kind of stuff. And we all know you need to get out of your comfort zone. It's important to grow. Any growth that you'll find. And the problem is, obviously, with social media and everything, everybody sees the end result. They don't see the hard graft that goes behind that, because everyone thinks, oh, well, it took them only a year to do, but it was the hardest year of their life to get there. So we always got to remember. And also, be intentional what you feed your mind, because we can all drift off. And going back to the previous slides of procrastination in terms of distractions, that's something that we all guilty of. Like, oh, I'll just quickly look, and all of a sudden it's half an hour gone. You just looked at cats and dogs and whatever it is on your socials that just distracted you. So that's that. I wanted to sort of go through just briefly as well how to overcome procrastination, because it's all very well saying, oh, we're procrastination, but how do we sort of overcome it? And actually put sort of 10 steps together in terms of doing it. And the first one is quite easy. Just start. Take the first step. I'd rather somebody take a small step, like we were talking about, 5 a day, 5 emails, 5 calls, 5 direct messages. Just start with 5, so that target is small, but it's achievable, and you feel good. When you feel good, you hit your target. You know what? I hit 5 yesterday. Great. Today I'm going to hit 10. And that's the kind of thing that you need to sort of doing that first step. Do smaller tasks, maximize efficiency and mental health. It's all important. Grant touched on it earlier. Give yourself a break. You don't need to burn yourself out. You do need to work like a maniac at times, but control it. Be in condensed ways. Get that deep work done in a solid amount of smaller times. That will allow you to achieve what you need to do. Because if you go, all right, I've got to work like a maniac for these 8-9 hours, we know that even in your 9-to-5 jobs that you previously are in, you're not fully on it on that full working day. There's been lots of case studies about how much actual work gets done in a normal 9-to-5 work, and it's actually quite alarming how low the number is. Change your environment. Clear desk, clear mind. You don't want distractions other than the focus that you have on your screen or your screens or whatever it might be. So your environment should always minimize distractions. Get that routine in place. Start slow, build discipline, add tasks as you scale. Again, it's all about small steps, making those. Use deadlines, make sure that you stick to them, but make them realistic as well. Don't overcomplicate them. As again, break goals into actionable steps, sort by and prioritize, plan and execute. Again, just making these small increments and steps allows you to achieve better things overall, because then it makes you feel good. And you go, you know what? I did 20 calls yesterday. I reckon I can do 30 today, because I just feel like I'm in a better place. I know what to say to people. I've got the experience because I've leveraged those simple actions. Remember, simple actions leverage experience successfully, and then increase energy. So huge thing. Health is nothing. Wealth is nothing without health. So you need to increase energy at times as well, and use those natural ways of doing it. Don't try not to be a complete reliant on your coffee or whatever it might be, because you might have those sort of jitters, you might have those drops, and find ways of actually increasing energy naturally as well in terms of that. But obviously getting your sort of 6 to 8 hours, I think, is advice in life to get that rest. And I mean, exercise regularly. I mean, I've just found out yesterday that my football, I just play 5-a-side once a week, that been struggling for numbers, and now after about 15 years they're going to call it a go end of the day, and I've got to find now an opportunity now to not find maybe another group to play football, because I really love football, playing it. I still play tennis once a week, but I walk my dog every day, Bruno. But you just need to embed that in your life as well. Get your daily routines sorted out, and also, don't dwell. You lose time if you just think about the ifs and the buts. Just focus on the better habits, and you will become that better person that you are wanting to be. And finally, just about lessons that I've learned. Ditch shiny object syndrome. We've all get distracted by the latest thing, the latest automation. AI is great, but actually, just focus on one thing at a time. Don't start all these unfinished bridges. We know the analogy of that. You get, oh yeah, I'm going to start this, and then all of a sudden, oh look, this is really good, I'm going to start this, and you're starting all these things and you don't get to your destination. So make sure, one thing at a time. There's lots of great things out there, but make sure you do it. Quality over quantity. Again, I'd rather somebody said, look, John, I did 5 calls yesterday. 5 is better than 0. 5 is better than not doing it because you felt the fear of making that phone call, of somebody saying no or rejection. Focus, hugely important, in both your professional and your personal life. We touched that it's not all about business. It's about focusing on what's good for you out of your working environment as well. Be a good person. I'm trying to be a positive influence on the people that I coach, but I'm also trying to be a positive influence on the people around me as well, in terms of teaching, learning, whatever it might be. There's no point being in the business if you're not going to aim big, guys. You do have to sort of, we want to get to 10, 15, 100, 200k a month, whatever it might be. You have to aim big, because at the end of the day, it gives you something to strive for. You always stay true to your values, and that's a great thing about being your own entrepreneur. You it's not on your terms. You're not employed anymore. This is how I want to build the business. It's how Grant wants to build Blam. He's building it based on his true values, and he has core values for Blam. So you got to stay true to your own values when you're building your journey up. A lot of things that people do in terms of that, because they're not confident enough, is they don't ever compete on price. That it's a race to the bottom. If you're just going to go, all right, well, they're doing it for 100, I'm going to do it for 50, I'm going to do it for 25, because you're never going to build a business that is going to be sustainable and make profit at the end of the day if you're always competing on price. And again, aiming big, there's long-term thinking as well. Build long-term plans with long-term people, and never stop innovating. We've talked about AI, but at the end of the day, it's innovating. You've got to keep ahead of the curve. You're only a few steps ahead potentially of the people that you're selling to, and that's important. You only need to be a few steps ahead, but being in the forefront of and absorbing the latest things is always going to be better for you, and eventually. And so finally, just to wrap that up, my 5 top tips: always be learning, build your lists, organization, infrastructure, SOP is hugely important. Get on the phone, get on the dog and bone, people. Come on, we can do this. It's not that scary. Well, it is sometimes, but you just need to rise above it, get uncomfortable, and take daily action, guys. Top 5 tips from Coach Jag there. Thank you for listening. And the final thing, it is the final.
Said that 3 times now. I really should have watched this presentation before.
Oh no, here we go, guys. I'm not going to be here next week now. Avoiding failure is avoiding success. Now, Grant, as you're here, I want you to say, who do you think that came from? I'll give you a clue. It's someone that you listen to, but it's not that person. You listen to this person probably more often than most, but it's someone related to this person.
Is it, I'm going to go with, is it Grant Cardone's wife?
Yay! Bingo! Look, see.
Yeah, Ellen. What's her name?
Eleanor. I think is it Eleanor?
Yeah.
Elena,
Yeah.
maybe. Avoiding failure is avoiding success, guys. Come on. You know, as Grant's touched on, failure is inevitable. However, what happens when failure? What happens if you've failed is that you've tried, you've done it. You've gone out.
Grace failure, baby.
Yeah. And that is that.
Love the animations, mate. That was awesome. There was loads of little nuggets there, loads of takeaways. So yeah, definitely we'll be dissecting that one. And just as was said at the beginning, taking that information that John's just provided and picking on one or two things that you're just going to do immediately. You're not going to wait. You're not going to say, oh yeah, I'm going to do that on Monday. You're going to do it immediately after the end of this presentation without any procrastination. Take action immediately. Because I promise you, you may have the best intention in the world, but if you leave it till Monday, the chances of it happening drastically decrease. And there's some absolute gold in that. And this is coming from somebody who speaks to half a dozen partners a day. And that's people that are just starting out, people that are in the middle of their journey, and people that are super successful. So this stuff matters. John, you're an absolute legend, mate.
Thanks.
Really appreciate that presentation. And I think your job's safe, mate. You're all right.
Thanks, Grant. I really appreciate it.
I'm not so sure my job's safe after that, but there you go.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you all guys from listening. And yeah, I hope you get something, at least one thing out of it. And that's what it's all about. And but yeah, as Grant says, take action. But yeah, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
So just a quick favor. We have got David Rahman waiting in the wings, but I just want to ask a quick favor for everybody that's watching. Could you just put a comment in whatever platform you're on, just to let us know how you're finding it? Ask a question, give us a thumbs up, just give us a little bit of an indication as to how you're enjoying it. And also just so we can make sure that we're interacting and we're getting the algorithms working for us. Just a comment, a like, a share, anything like that would be really, really appreciated. And any questions that you might want to ask, fire them in and we will also deal with those. Now, how do I big up the man that is coming next? Author of Let It Go, the most awesome book. If you have not read it yet, please get onto Amazon. David Rahman, Let It Go. That book is literally life-changing. It's one of those books that just takes you to another place because you resonate with it so much. And today, I would like to introduce Mr. Rahman, and if we can just bring him in. Is he here? Is he on? I can't see him. I don't know whether you can. We'll wait for him to sort his camera out. But what he's going to be talking about today is imposter syndrome, something that is really close to the heart of so many people. Let me just see if here he is.
Hello.
How you doing, buddy? Good to see you, mate.
You too. How are you?
Fantastic, mate. Fantastic. So we've got a little bit of presentation. Well, that's not doing it justice. We've got a presentation today on imposter syndrome. So what are we hoping to get people to learn today? We've got a little bit of feedback, I think. I don't know whether you've got. Have you got an extra device playing, or is it just the one?
Just the one.
Just the one. Okay, I'll tell you what. What I'll do is I'll put myself on mute and I'll let you crack on. I think we're getting a little bit of feedback, so it might be something to do with my device. But I'll hand over to you, Mr. Rahman. Imposter and all yours, mate.
Oh, thank you very much. Really good to be here, and some great work from the guys earlier on. Really appreciate your time, and grateful to be here. So I'm going to be talking about something which affects most people and has affected most people, and that's imposter syndrome, which is, it's not a psychiatric condition, but it's more of a psychological phenomenon. That's what psychologists refer to as imposter syndrome. So first of all, does anybody know what imposter syndrome is, or have they heard of it? Have they been told that this is something that they experience? If you want to type it into the chat box, and then I'll have to move on. Has anybody heard of it, imposter syndrome? You can type away in the chat box. So imposter syndrome is really the rudimentary definition is when you worry, you get all the time. When you have self-doubt, you worry, you have an overthinking mentality about yourself and what you're capable of. So imposter syndrome is something that Healy, E2 Grant, so something that we feel at times. So we could have felt it early on in our career. We could have felt it if we were playing a sport, or if we're on our own business, or if we're in a professional career. And it's something that if you manage to address it, it can really open the gates to becoming, sadly, not just pitching in. Thanks, Alex. It can open the gates to a much more successful business and career. And this is something that I'm passionate about, because when I look back over time, I didn't know that the times when I had imposter syndrome, when I actually doubted myself, I had huge fears. I worried about things which were, you look back and you think that wasn't as important as I made it out to be. But it was more of a case of making an identity shift. And really, this session, hopefully I can help you make an identity shift. I've got some slides. If you could just bear with me, because I just want to sort out this PowerPoint thing. I'll be back in 1 second. Okay, so I remember when I first transitioned from one career to another. So I used to be an optician, so I moved from one career to another. And I guess a lot of, for example, Bland partners are transitioning at some state of transition from one career to another, or any entrepreneur, really. You could be in one career, but you want to start your own business. And starting your own business, especially if you haven't been a business owner before, can be very, very daunting and frightening, because you're on your own. And then you're thinking about, when's my next client going to come in? When's my next customer? And you're thinking about, how do I keep the wolves from the door? How do I keep the roof over my head? Thoughts like that sort of circulate through, because you don't have that feeling of certainty. You know, when you're employed, you have the paycheck every month. No matter how good or bad your performance, most people have this recurring paycheck coming into their account every month. Whereas when you own your own business, you have to really look at things like customers and clients. Therefore, you're selling. So entrepreneurs are in the selling business. And I believe that people buy people. So when you for example, you employ a plumber, of course you want him to have the great skills and be able to do the job, but you like people. We all like people. So if he gave you great service, then you'll always ask him back. And it's the same with any profession. When you like a person, you want to work with them. So think of yourself, if you've got your own business, think of yourself as you are the brand. You are the person that people will buy into. I want you to think about the opposite of imposter syndrome is when you feel unstoppable. And what I mean unstoppable, it's you've got out your own way. There's that saying that people have always, you've heard over time, when they say, if you want to get ahead in the world, get out your own way. And it's quite true. You have to get out your own way, because we can overthink. We engage in behaviors like procrastination and people pleasing, and we constantly doubt ourselves. So when I really got out of my own way, things start to happen. I remember when I first started coaching in the coaching industry, that was 2004. So that's, just 20 years ago. I think 20 years ago in March 2004, I went and got trained. I started my training as a coach. And then shortly after that, as part of my training, I had to coach other people. And I remember looking back, I haven't thought about this for years. I'm just thinking on the spot. In my head, I was still an optician, because that's what I was doing. But I had to coach these people. So in my head, I had to get around that feeling of the identity shift. So looking at myself at that time, I hadn't got myself into a place where I was identifying as a business owner. Even though I was a self-employed optometrist, I hadn't identified myself as a coaching business owner. I remember feeling not good enough, because and feeling fraudulent, because one of the key aspects of imposter syndrome is when you feel like a fraud. So you might be starting your own business out there, or you might be at a level of your business where you still feel not good enough. You doubt yourself. You feel like a fraud. You can't. You don't back yourself, and you feel as if, how am I going to climb this mountain? But I always think that the first mountain that you have to climb really is getting over yourself, getting past yourself. And the one thing that you can do about that is to acknowledge that you are at base camp of the mountain. It's always good to acknowledge that you need help. And the first thing that that will then illuminate is self-awareness. Self-awareness is always been the first key to change. So whenever I'm working with a client, self-awareness is that first step in awareness. In change. Change for me is the number one phobia on the planet. Does anybody on here have a problem or fear? Do you think you fear change? Do you fear uncertainty? Is anybody on here who actually has issues around change, around uncertainty, around starting something new, around the unknown, fear of rejection? Right, thank you, Rachel. Rejection is something that I had a fear of for years and years. Incidentally, I think I mentioned it before, there is a great book called Go for No, and that is all about overcoming rejection. Anybody else have any? You say you don't, but when it happens, you do. Absolutely, yeah. We learn a lot about ourselves when we experience adversity, and then we get these emotions. And we always talk about business being 80%, 20% mechanics and doing, and 80% mindset. And what I can add to that is, really, it's not really the mindset that causes us to freeze when we want to pick up the phone to call someone, to email someone when we want to ask for a favor, or email someone when we're not happy about something. Sometimes we get in our own way, and the thing that stops us from doing what we want to do is not just the mindset, it's more emotions, because emotions really do determine what we do, and they start first thing in the morning. If you think about it, when you wake up in the morning, if you are emotionally fragile, it's not just the mindset, it's you wake up and you're feeling, I don't want to go to the gym, or I don't want to work out, or I don't want to get out of bed. that's all ruled by your emotions. Remember, procrastination, people pleasing, rejection, these are all emotionally driven. So mindset is the precursor to that. And the precursor to mindset is what I term the blueprint. So I've talked about the blueprint for years. So if you can imagine, hopefully if you've got a pen and paper, you can write this down to get more of an overview of what I'm talking about. So if you write the word blueprint and then write an arrow next to it and write thinking next to that, and then an arrow next to that, and then write down emotions next to that. And then the emotions then lead to a behavior. So blueprint is step one. Step two is thinking. Step three is emotions, and then behavior. So emotions really the precursor to our behavior. So think about any time that you don't feel like doing something, anytime you're procrastinating, and you choose, say, Netflix over maybe working on your website or making those customer calls, then it's the emotions are getting in the way. And often the emotion, for example, I was talking to a client the other day, the emotion of, say, running towards, say, entertainment could be one of escape. And then you've got to say to yourself, what am I escaping from? And then at that point, you start to analyze, what am I escaping from? And it could be it could be a rejection, as somebody just mentioned, fear of rejection. If we've got a fear of rejection, then we're going to try our best to avoid it. Right. So I'm going to try and share some slides just to illuminate the point further. Where are we? Present slides. Okay. So I'm just going to present some slides, if I may. Can you see slide one? Can anybody see slide one? If you just give me the thumbs up in some way or another, it would be awesome. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Thank you very much. So this is just overcoming. I've got a few slides for this piece. This is called overcoming imposter syndrome. And what I wanted to do is just to point to a slide here. In 2021, HR News published a survey of over 1,000 professionals, and the results basically indicated that 85% of respondents had feelings of imposter syndrome. What is imposter syndrome? You know, the traits are, as I mentioned, feeling like a fraud, scared of people finding out, doubting yourself, worrying what others think. Incidentally, Grant did say something earlier on in his talk about what people think of us, of you, is none of your business. And it's very, very true. And Grant did mention it was one of his favorites ever. And funnily enough, I was with my son yesterday. We went for a spa day. Father, son, I got him as a birthday present. He loved it. He's 21. And I said to him, I'm going to get you a spa day for Christmas. And this is before Christmas. And he said, what, spa day with my old man? That's a bit weird, isn't it? And I said, well, girls go with their mothers on spa days. Let's do it. And he said, well, I don't know. I've never had a massage. Ooh, somebody touched me. I thought, and then he mentioned his girlfriend. He said, the only one who's done it is Jess. That's his girlfriend. And I said, no, you'll enjoy it. So we went for the spa day. And needless to say, he really, really enjoyed it, the spa day. But at one moment in the spa day, I'll get to my point. One moment on the spa day, he actually said to me, you know what the one piece of advice you gave me, Dad, which has always stuck with me? And at that point, I said, what do you mean one piece of advice that's only stuck with you? I've given you lots. So he said that the one thing that I've said to him that really helped him was just what I just said. What people think of me is none of my business. Because he was always a worry. He was always worrying what other people think, you know. He's 21. He's at that start of their journey. And he wants to be an entrepreneur. And we were talking about that yesterday. But he said, what people think of me is none of my business. And it's very, very true. And I found that really, really helpful as well. So what can it leave us feeling? What can it leave us feeling? To find your purpose. Yeah, that's brilliant. What can it leave us feeling? So if we have imposter syndrome, now this is where we go into the feelings, because our feelings, remember, determine how you show up in work. Whether you look after yourself, whether you drink enough water, all these things are necessary, besides mindset and all the tools we give you to do a good job every day. So it leaves us feeling stressed. I mean, who wants to feel overly stressed or anxious, have low moods or depression? We don't want that. But this is what happens if we have high levels of what's termed imposter syndrome. So I want to go through the 5 types really quickly with you, because I know time is of the essence. So the first type is the perfectionist, and there are plenty of perfectionists out there. In fact, are there any perfectionists in the house today? Are there any perfectionists? I could put my hand up there. Are there any perfectionists in the house? Anybody want to chip in? Perfectionists? Just a yes would suffice. I already said that, Grant. Any perfectionists in the house besides myself? Yeah, Keith. Hand up straight away. So there are, perfections, yes. Was fun. Yeah, so perfectionism is something when you want to do a good job. You want to do a good job. And there's multiple of reasons why you have perfectionism. I think mine is to do with fear of failure. That's mine. That's my marginal fear of failure. Most of the time, I don't have a fear of failure, but it transpires or translates through perfectionism, which I'm dealing with currently. So perfectionism. So the perfectionist, where are we? I'll do this. Put pressure on themselves, believing they can always do better. The focus on the flaws and mistakes, and the constant striving frequently leads to high anxiety, etc. So that's the perfectionist. That's number 1. Number 2 is the soloist. So I just want you to take note of these to see perhaps which one you may be. You may not be now, but have you been any of these in the past? The soloist. So the soloist tends to put pressure, to feel that they can achieve everything by themselves and without the need to delegate. They tend to view the help of others as a sign of weakness and lack of mental strength, so prefer to work alone. And I can honestly tell you that, yeah, I've been a soloist. I've been a soloist for a lot of my working life. And I can honestly admit that that's not the case these days, because I collaborate a lot and work with others a lot in other disciplines. So definitely not a soloist, but I was 100% yes previously. So were you a soloist? The third one is superwoman, superman. What do I mean by this? So take a look at this. The superhero has all the things and wants to be all the things to all people. They have everything they need to succeed. They absolutely have everything they need to succeed, and will push themselves from self-doubt to overachievement. These people, though, are often exhausted through overwork, will juggle a myriad of tasks to get things done, and will always want to be a model, an example for their colleagues. So are you the superwoman or superman? This is the natural genius. This type of person sets the highest goals for themselves. Okay, so again, these are all examples of people who self-sabotage through imposter syndrome. This type, they set the highest goals themselves. They believe they are fast learners and they should excel at everything. Now look at that phrase, they should. What does should mean? It means that you're putting huge pressure on yourself. And if you put pressure on yourself, some people enjoy huge pressure and do well, but most people, it does cause problems. So the natural genius, they've had early success and believe they are born talented and gifted. And then the next one is the expert. So experts are always on the lookout for more knowledge and expertise through courses and books to just get a feeling, to feel good about themselves. They often feel guilty of doubting whether they know enough. So they're always thinking, I don't know enough. Again, that's putting pressure on yourself. They're never satisfied. So they have a problem with being satisfied with the current level of knowledge or understanding. And they actually underestimate their expertise. And they may not take every opportunity in their career as they worry that they have the lack of qualifications. So they're always looking for the next qualification before they start. So, as an entrepreneur, you've got a personality which you display to the world. So you display this personality to the world, but then what is going on underneath? What is going on with your emotions underneath? And I know a lot of people who display this to the world, but underneath there's something going on, emotions going on, and then those are not in check. And for me, if we don't get emotions in check, thoughts are things, but emotions, remember, are tied to your physiology. So if you're feeling anxious, emotions. If you're feeling happy, emotions. If you're feeling scared, emotions. Rejected, emotions. And it can physically affect you. And that's when it becomes serious. So what are the telltale signs of imposter syndrome? So have a look at these. I'm a fake and I'm going to be found out. I lucked out. I can do it. Anyone can. I've had a lot of help. I had connections. They're just being nice. Failure is not an option. I made it up as I went. These are the telltale signs of imposter syndrome. So there's some famous people, just for those people who think they might have imposter syndrome, but famous people have had it, and these include Sheryl Sandberg, the CEO or the former CEO of Facebook, Tom Hanks, the actor, Michelle Obama, and Lady Gaga. So famous people, and there's plenty of people who've had it and continue to have it. So the common causes of self-doubt, and I want you to think about these things: perfectionism, which we've been talking about, negative influences, being around critical or unsupportive people. There's nothing worse than you're running your business or you want to start a business and you're getting negative support, the opposite of support. Somebody is questioning you, somebody is doubting you, putting ideas in your head that you shouldn't be doing the business. And often these people are doing it because it is a reflection of who they are as a person, because it's not often what you might think is of jealousy or they don't want you to do well. It could be what I call the mirror effect. So if you imagine a mirror on your back, and as you move forward in life, the person who's causing you to doubt yourself or feeling unsupported, imagine they're seeing the reflection of themselves in your back on that mirror. Okay, so as you move forward, that person will see your back, but imagine there's a mirror on your back and that's showing them. So sometimes because somebody is unhappy themselves, they're going to try and maybe not bring you down. That could be quite harsh, but it could be they're not so encouraging as you would like them to be. Okay, so there are people around you. So I always think about the circle of 5. Keep that circle of people around you super tight so that you surround yourself with people who actually build you up, actually are willing to build you up and not bring you down. And this is something which is really critical. Years and years ago, when I discovered this, you can't just get rid of people, but you can limit your time with people. You can put some really good friends into acquaintance boxes so that they are no longer super influential in your life, and you surround yourself with people on that same journey. I mean, life is a journey. It's not cliched even saying that. It is a journey from when you're born to when you leave. In between, it is what you do every day. So we have to make the most of what we do every day. I'm not a believer in I will do it on Monday. I will do it in January. I'm hugely not a believer in New Year's resolutions, because New Year's resolutions are absolutely BS. Absolute BS. We should be thinking about goals and we don't need resolution. It means that for me, resolution sounds like I failed 2023 and therefore I'm going to make the most of 2024. You haven't done that. What I believe in is setting targets, setting goals, having ideas about how you can transform your business and your life. That's the whole purpose of this. So you should be thinking about, right, what is my mission before 2024 December? How do I want to leave this year? How do I want to arrive on New Year's Eve this year? How do I want to sit there having Christmas dinner this year feeling like this? Who do I want to become? So the way around imposter syndrome is you have to make an identity shift. So I had to make an identity shift. In fact, my latest identity shift was from last year. So some of you might have known that my mum passed last year, and I made an identity shift almost instantly because my identity before that, I was really looking after her, looking after her health the last few years, and always keeping an eye on her over the last 20 years since my father passed. So that I look back now after the event and realized that my identity has shifted. And there's an awful lot of mental real estate I have now available for creativity. And since then, I'm about to start two new businesses this month, which is great. Well, actually, one has started. So when you change your identity, you make that shift away from these imposter syndrome thoughts. And it happens in real time. You can't just read a book and think, that sounds good. Yeah, I'm going to go and do that. I'm going to follow those instructions tomorrow. Or chapter 7 in that book was amazing. Right, I'll do that later. It can't happen like that. It's got to be done now in real time. So I'm a big believer in real time change as we do this. So the common causes include as well past traumas. We've had negative experiences. So you might have an experience where you didn't get into a netball team in school, or you weren't picked for the rugby team, and that caused you to doubt yourself. It could be that you didn't do brilliantly in university and you think you're hopeless. Because of certain results happening, we then deduce that we're not good enough, that we're not valuable enough. And that's not the case. Experiences are there to teach us, not to crush us. And I always love that question, what's the gift in this? What is the gift in this? I remember speaking to a client this morning, and she was having a problem with one of her mentees. But she's actually in the police force, and she's a mentor. And one of her mentees was giving her a lot of anxiety and stress, and then she started to doubt herself, whether she's a good mentor. But you have to think about, we're going to have an experience, and what can you learn from the experience? You can change your perception of that experience. We've got to, I'm of the belief that everyone is equal. Absolutely. It's just what we do with our life is different. Everyone is equal. We've got that opportunity in this playground called life to make the most of it. Comparisons. So comparing oneself to others can lead to feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt. And the driver of that with a lot of people these days, comparisons, is definitely social media, of course, because you can find out more about what other people are doing, or the best of what they're doing, because that's what they put on Instagram and Facebook. And then immediately it might cause you to doubt yourself. It might cause you to think, I'm not going fast enough. Am I good enough? Is this going to work? And it stops you from being more authentic as an entrepreneur, all because you feel you're not going fast enough, because you've made yourself believe that someone's journey is actually your journey, when it isn't. It absolutely is not your journey. And one thing that I love that the American phrase, Navy SEAL phrase, is slow is smooth, smooth is fast. I love that. I absolutely love that phrase. So something that, I'd write that down. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. It absolutely works. So, how can I help myself? Right. So I want to give you just a few ways, practical ways. If you've if you come to my workshops before, you might have seen some of these because I want you to, and if you're not using them, why not? Because I want you to, it's all about practicality. No one learned to drive a car in one day. So if you want help towards getting over imposter syndrome, let's do this now. 4 ways to start. Initially, I've got 4 ways here. I'm going to give some more in a second. This is called the elastic band technique, which is really simple. If you catch yourself worrying and self-doubting yourself, being negative, have an elastic band and flick it. Flick it. It'll wake you up out of your somber, because sometimes we need to be aware. Remember when I talked about being self-aware? The elastic band is super powerful if you're not aware that you're actually doing this stuff. And it wakes you up out of a slumber. If you're being negative about yourself, flick the elastic band. And you'll find yourself, the more you're aware, the more chance you've got to change. It'll take some time, but the more you do it, the better it is. Every day I do this, and it is really super cool as a process. Every day about this time, I ask myself, what are the 5 wins of the day? And the 5 wins could be, this morning I went to the gym, had a great conversation with a client. Had a great meeting with somebody I haven't seen for since last year, about 8 or 9 months, and he wants me to collaborate with him. So those are 3 things immediately that I can talk about. So every day we've got wins. A win could be I had a great lunch. Another win could be I heard a song on the radio which made me smile. So these are wins. So you can think of wins, because what this does is build up, stockpile wins for you every single day. Even if you write them down in a diary or just think about them, it makes you feel good. Remember, it's all about feeling good. If you want to overcome all your self-doubt, you start to feel good and you look at life differently. The timeline exercise is really a really cool exercise, because this involves you sitting down for about an hour. I would say about an hour. Go to a coffee shop. I love coffee shops. We've got a nice energy. Sit down, just people watch, have a cake, have a cuppa, and just think about a 10-year. So think about 2014, and then write down on a piece of paper, what have you done since 2014? You'll be really, really surprised at how much success you've had over a 10-year period. And it could be things like you learned to drive, you learned to word process, you learned how to develop websites, you had your first sales, you built a company. What is it that you've done the last 10 years? Because I guarantee you, we've often not even acknowledged the great things we've done. We've not acknowledged it, great things we've done. And if we don't acknowledge it, it gets lost in the sands of time. And if it's lost, it's useless to you. You don't want to lose your life. What I mean by that is, you don't want to lose your lifetime of magic that you've created that you're not even acknowledging. The mind is super clever at focusing on what it thinks you want. And if you keep focusing on what you don't want, you'll get more of that. So to think about, that's a really good exercise to do every day. 5 wins. It's really easy, 5 wins. And you can tag onto that gratitude. And gratitude, as Grant was talking about earlier, is a superpower. All it does is gets you to focus on right now. I mean, earlier on today, I was thinking about my mentors, the people in my life I freaking love, who bring me a lot of joy through their support and encouragement, and never say die attitude. Grant being one of them. He's great. And you've just got to think about these people, and I do this constantly, and it gives you that buffer. It gives you that springboard from where to succeed. The timeline exercise is something that, if you do it well, you'll be fine. Professional help. So professional help is something that it's something that you can work with somebody to help you overcome imposter syndrome. I remember when I was in my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, my early 40s, it was just imposter syndrome was rife in my head, because I didn't feel right anywhere, to be honest. I'm full of self-doubt, full of problems. And I know imposter syndrome, if you imagine a plane waiting to take off on the runway, and the engines are screaming, and this plane really wants to take off, but it's not taking off. And it's not taking off because it's got wooden blocks, which are blocking the wheels from moving. It's got those blocks. So the plane will not take off. Doesn't matter how much thrust you put in the engine, the blocks are there. That is self-doubt. That is overthink. That is worry. Until you get rid of the blocks, you don't succeed to the level you want to, at the speed you want to. You don't even take off the runway. So think about getting help or doing something that's going to help you move forward. And that includes what I just talked to you about in terms of tools and confidence. Analyzing the self-confidence. When I do gap analysis sessions with clients, I literally help them map out, okay, this is where you are. So that gap analysis session works out where you are. Through a system of questions, I can literally within 5 minutes work out where somebody is, and then they know the target of where they want to go. But what's the gap in terms of what's the mind gap? It's like that, it's like that London Underground, mind the gap. Just thought of that. So there's a gap between where you want to go and where you want to be, but that gap has to be built on a bridge of the correct mindset and emotions so that you actually start to back yourself. What I want to share with you is, quickly, because I know we're moving forward. Where are we? Create a joy list. So I'm going to give you these strategies now, and if you miss them, then you can always get the slides. I'll send the slides through Grant. Create a joy list, which is what brings you joy in life. Embrace vulnerability. Embrace vulnerability. Be vulnerable. Speak to someone. Talk to someone about your challenges. It really is great to talk. I found this so, for me years ago, so enlightening. Just to embrace vulnerability. Celebrate progress. We don't celebrate progress enough. If people celebrate, people will look at you and think, well, what are you celebrating for? But celebrate, pause and celebrate. That will help you. Self-talk. Replace negative self-talk with positive affirmations and self-compassion. Mindfulness. I don't need to say anything more about mindfulness. Visualization. That's using mental imagery. And it's something that I do every day to visualize your perfect day scenario or perfect conversation with your client. That's something that when you start to use that as a daily practice, you'll start seeing the results. Overcoming self-doubt in the long term. So shifting the focus, avoid obsessing over mistakes. That's what Tony Robbins says, where focus goes, energy flows. So it literally is shifting the focus. Have this forward direction mentality. There's an extra thing that I want to share with you. If you can write down the letters FIT. So this is something that you can do every day, FIT. So F stands for forward. So every day, have the forward momentum building progress attitude. So this is an attitude shift. Focus on moving forward. Whilst learning from the past, always focus on moving forward. I is intentions, which is be very intentional every day. Be very, very intentional. So, for example, this morning, my intentions were to have a spectacular day, I went to the gym first thing, then to be super productive with my clients this morning, the meetings, and then this afternoon to come to this and make a decent contribution to help somebody. If somebody watching this makes a shift, that's fine. I'm happy. Just needs one person. I just want one person to make that shift. More than one is a bonus. That's my obsession, to help someone make that shift, get that shift where I would have loved that help years ago. So T stands for trust. So FIT. T stands for trust, which is trust God, trust universe, trust spirit, whatever you believe in, trust quantum physics, trust that something is very, very benign out there and wants to help. There's something, we're part of something much bigger than we think we are. Much, much bigger. And it would be absolutely arrogant and ignorant if you think we are the only thing in this universe. So something much bigger. So FIT, forward, intentional, trust. And I always feel, when I think of that, I feel that's good. It's like pushing the accelerator down. Practicing self-care. So again, that's practice. That's self-explanatory. Setting boundaries. Think about setting boundaries. Where you set boundaries, where you don't set boundaries, where you learn to say no, where you learn to say yes, and keeping learning. That's super essential. Keep learning. I know Grant is a massive learner, always listen to audiobooks like myself. A fellow reader. If we read physical books, I was talking to Grant about this the other day. Yeah, and I can fall asleep reading a physical book. I don't know what it is. If I want to get a good night's sleep, I'll just read before I go to bed, physical book. And I love it, but just send me to sleep. Top tip for any insomniacs out there. So I need to think about what's going on under the surface. And if you want to delve deeper and want to know what's going on under the surface, and if want of a better phrase, if enough is enough, and you think, I want to know what's going on under the surface, and I want to challenge myself, and I want to make an identity shift. Not a personality shift, but an identity shift where I look at myself differently and I understand myself differently. When you make the identity shift, that is when it's like a door opening to further success. It's something that I passionately believe in. So you're not alone. I've got a lot more things to say, but I think I know we're coming to the end now. So what I can put in is this. Actually, no, I'm going to say what I'm going to say in a minute. First of all, I'm going to put this out there first. 10 people. There's my email address. If you're up for what's called a gap analysis session, it's about 20 to 30 minutes myself. It's complimentary. It's free, so I can then help you find out where your blockages are and what needs to be done. And if you need further help, I'll speak to you about that. But that's out there for only 10 people. So the first 10 people who want to a little bit of help in terms of overcoming these fears or doubt or something that you keep doing over and over again, because the fears and doubts manifest themselves into a behavior which often we can't stand. So if there's something that you keep doing, you will really want to delete that out of your life and business, then reach out and perhaps we can do something like that. What I wanted to do is just a little bit of extra, because I've written this, or is it? Put something together extra for you guys. So where is it? Okay. Right, let me just bring it on the screen. Okay, there we are. I'll just bring it on my own screen. It's disappeared off my iPad. Oh, nice. So if I can, I'm going to share with you literally 10 ways to start changing your mindset today, if you want that. So the first one is your thoughts is called. You talking to me, Grant?
Sharing what you think you're sharing. It's still got the conclusion on.
Sorry?
It's still got the conclusion next step slide on.
Yeah, I'm just going to read this.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were trying to share something.
No, I'm just going to read something. It was just something. They're not on slides. So if you've got pen and paper, I just want to remember these 10. They're like 10 truths of life. Okay, so the first one is your thoughts are your architects. Whatever we think about, imagine thoughts to be bricks, and the bricks of your life. Whatever you're thinking every day becomes your reality, becomes your emotions, and then it affects your reality directly. So if you write that down, your thoughts are your architects. It's something that's very, very much something I believe in. Number two, mindfulness. Mindfulness is key, which is we're so confused sometimes because we're consumed by the past, or we're consumed by the future, that we forget to live. We actually forget to live. You know, have you ever talked to somebody and they're not even listening to you? They're just waiting to reply. Have you ever caught yourself thinking about someone from the past and suddenly within minutes you're angry? Have you ever found yourself thinking about something that hasn't even happened and you're scared? You know, so mindfulness and mindfulness techniques are really, really important. Reframing the negative, reframing the narrative. Often we keep telling ourselves a story about something that happened, and we give it such a spin that we think that's the truth about us, but we don't know. How many times have you thought something that's happened? You worried why somebody hasn't texted you back or emailed you, and you worry, have you done something, or why haven't they got back to me? And you find out later that perhaps they were ill, or perhaps they were in a car accident, or perhaps something happened to their phone. But in the meantime, you've created a narrative. So I want you to think about reframing the narrative. The next one is touching more of what John said. Action fuels thoughts, which is our action. Our action every day fuels thought, but our action fuels our success. So it's no good knowing about the law of attraction, knowing all these tools and techniques, coming to webinars like this. If you take no action, that's incredible. That's an incredible thought. So that's the truth. The next one is gratitude unlocks abundance, which is more about what we talked about earlier on. When we're in a state of gratitude, when we're feeling great, it's a great attitude. When you're feeling, you become unstoppable. When you understand that you've got more than you need to really succeed. Finding your purpose. So I believe, my son asked me, I don't know what my purpose is, Dad. And I said, your purpose really is to help people. That's your purpose. Your vehicle of how you do it is going to be your career or business. I find people getting really confused between what a purpose is and thinking that they must know their purpose. Do I need to be a writer? Oh my God, do I need to be a building business? Do I need to be a computer programmer? Our purpose is to help people. That is our purpose. The vehicle is what we've got to find. And that takes time. Embrace your challenges as stepping stones. We all have challenges, but they are stepping stones. Very, very few people get super successful in one go. It's always a stepping stone. It's what I've discovered for myself and from the people I learn from. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is something that is, for me, is the ultimate letting go. There might be somebody on this call who still hasn't forgive something that hurt them, or someone that hurt them. They might need to forgive themselves. Forgiveness, like anger, resentment, just like carrying a heavy, heavy rucksack. In my book, Let It Go, I talk about how to put down the rucksack. Because can you imagine that if you can't forgive yourself or someone or something, it's like carrying a burden around with you. And when you forgive, it's not condoning behavior. It's simply letting go. It's putting the rucksack down, and you can walk faster, you can run faster. The penultimate one is invest in relationships. Invest in relationships. And how do you do that? And first of all, the simplest way to do that is time. I invest a lot of time in my relationships. I always make sure that my friendship circle is a big part of my life. You're not just your business. You are a friend, a mum, a dad, a son, daughter, sister, brother. We're more than just a business, but we have to invest in our relationships. And this is not just relationships, the people around you, but also our business relationships, our business community, connections. One thing that I found out in the last few years, especially the last year, is connections. Create that connection, create that network of connections. It's unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. In fact, I wished I'd created this network which is fast growing, really fast as we speak. I keep meeting people every day who are just, and we're just connecting. It's just, it's unbelievable. That's all I can say. No, believable. I'm not going to use the word unbelievable. Believable. So invest in relationships, mentors, friends, business relationships. Never ever feel that you can't help someone or someone can't help you. And the last one is continuous learning is key. That's the last truth. We're always looking to learn. You're always looking to get that 1% growth from something or someone can help you, or you can help yourself. Like I went to London the other day. I was in last weekend or the weekend before. I was in London, and I was there for it was like a 5.5, 6 hour lecture. And I had one learning from that lecture, which sort of, that learned from that. I was there, and it was a great day. It was at University College London. It was led by neuroscientists. I loved it. A lot of the stuff I knew, a lot of the stuff I was happy to learn. I was really happy. But there was one thing that one of the neuroscientists said, and it was nothing to do with neuroscience. Well, it sort of was more to do with quantum physics and time. And he was talking about how how we focus our brain on the future or the past, but here is what it is. And it was like a reflective moment for that. Even though I knew it, I felt that synergy at that moment. Oh yes, I need to get back more in the moment to really enjoy life. We use the word enjoy life, ENJOY, but enjoy, turn it to enjoy. And that's something that I totally believe in, that in order for you to grow your business and become that superstar in your business, because I know you can be, it is about enjoying your life and really getting out your own way. So if anybody has any questions or would like to say something, I'm really happy to field any questions. Or you got all quiet. Am I still on? Hello.
You are still on, mate. Loud and clear. Yeah, I'm trying to avoid coming in because we've got a bit of feedback when I talk. Did you hear that?
Hello.
There you go.
Sorry, so you got feedback.
Yeah, that's okay now. Now you've got those in. We're all good. Awesome. Somebody just said we are tired. You can't be tired. You've got to be motivated.
We're two of us.
Here. We don't let tired get to us.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to be tired. It's only Friday.
That's it. Yeah, we got. Now, listen. The first thing, mate, I just want to say, absolute kudos. You managed to get through the entire presentation without mentioning Liverpool.
Oh, don't stop me crying.
David and I had a conversation just prior to this, and all he could go on about was the fact that what's his name, Jurgen Klopp has left Liverpool or is leaving Liverpool, and he was devastated.
Oh, you crushed me now.
So I guess my question to you is, how do we deal with that kind of exterior influence on our mindset?
Yeah, exactly that. And we were talking about that, and you just got to think about, in that case, I was just grateful. We've had eight years of a brilliant manager at Liverpool, and onwards and upwards. Change happens, isn't it? Change happens.
Embrace change, yeah.
Yeah, change happens. Embrace change, as they say. Yeah. Thanks, Grant.
Mate, that was an awesome presentation. As ever, I've made loads of notes. My little there's always a little takeaway. I always try and practice what I preach from your presentation. I always try and have a little takeaway. And this one is the joy list. I like that joy list. You've got loads of little tools like that, haven't you, that you recommend? I like that joy list. So I'm going to have a little go at the joy list after this. And because it's one of that, joy is one of those words that it's not a particularly butch word, or it's not very fashionable. It doesn't sound very cool, but it's kind of like the best thing ever, isn't it?
It is. It's what what our children give us, and what life gives us. But we sort of we don't talk about it enough, really, because it's when we're feeling at our best, that's when it is joy.
Joy, yeah. So that's one for me, a joy list, and I think that is going to be a lot of fun. And I quite enjoy these kind of exercises. I must admit, I get a bit of a kick out of them. And oh, it's all right, Brahms. He's now motivated and he's full of life now. He was tired, but now he's not.
Yeah.
Well, listen, David, thank you as ever. That was awesome. Now, for those of you that are watching, if you can, any questions that you want to ask, if you put them in the feed, and any questions if you're watching on the rerun, please do. But time's getting on top of us now, so I'm going to say a big thank you as ever to David. And don't forget, if we'll put it in the chat as well, the gap analysis is open to you. We've put a landing page together actually where you can get all of the tools that we're going to put at the end of this that are going to help you on your entrepreneurial journey. So we've got vision board stuff, we've got some stuff to do with bigger vision, we've got some apps, we've got David's appointment. All in there, nice little landing page. So, David, appreciate you so much. A fantastic weekend. Don't get too depressed about Liverpool.
Try not to.
Find the joy in it. Yeah, fantastic. And I'll see you on the next one. Thanks, buddy.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And so, without further ado, I know it's been a long session, guys. I really appreciate all your time and attention. But it will be worth the late because today we have got Tracy Falcon. Tracy, how you doing?
I'm good this morning, Grant. Can you hear me well?
Loud and clear. Loud
Excellent.
and clear.
Good.
I really appreciate.
I'm doing good. I'm doing good this morning. Thank you.
Awesome. So where are you today?
I'm in Edmonton today. I'm not in the mountains, so I'm working in the city. Lots going on. Busy start for me to January 2024. It's good. So
it's been, I can tell it's been hectic. And so just to give everybody a little bit of context, so Tracy is a Blam partner. Now she's been a Blam partner for it's about 18 months, is it, Tracy?
Yep, that's it. It's about right. Yeah,
about a year now. And but I'd say you really got things kicking on at the beginning of this year, really. Beginning of last year, I beg your pardon. So so there was a little bit of stuff going on, wasn't there? And so, but you really sort of kick-started things just over a year ago. I'd say that's fair to say, isn't it?
Yep, that's about right.
And so just to give some context to everybody else, so Blam Partnership Program, as you know, helps people set up their own digital agency. Now, most of the time, we get such a mix of Blam partners. They literally are from every different walk of life, every different background. Some people are already agency owners and already doing their thing. Some people haven't got a clue about digital marketing and have never run a business before, and kind of everything in between. But I've really been looking forward to this chat with Tracy because she is pretty unique in terms of her background, and she brings an awful lot of knowledge and expertise to the Blam Partnership because of her background. So now, when you first started, Tracy, I remember we met up in person because you were in Wales.
We did. Yeah, I was in Wales. Yeah, at the time. So,
which is an awful long way to come over.
It was. Yeah, I was visiting friends. So
that was right.
To the family, friends. Yeah.
So we had a little catch up, and you were sort of right at the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey. So I've been really looking forward to this one because I've seen you change and, excuse the pun, evolve. So much.
Yeah, I know, right? Now you know where I got it from.
There you go. Yeah. And I just really looking forward to asking you about that journey. So just to kick things off, be great if you could just give me a little background as to what you did prior to starting your own business.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Actually, when I started in the business world, I was a stockbroker, believe it or not, when I got out of university. And it was kind of a men's world at the time, and I didn't feel like I fit in, but I liked the business world. So I went back to university and did an additional degree in marketing. So I ended up working for a small boutique marketing firm, and then I ended up running a graphic design sort of boutique firm here. But we actually were really technologically advanced at the time when sort of everybody started doing things differently. And actually, it's when web design sort of first started sneaking into the business world in a big way. We were one of the first agencies to manage that sort of thing. So my marketing background, I had 6 years there, and then I was headhunted. I've actually never applied for a job, believe it or not. I was headhunted by a large agency here where I live, and I was there for 17 years and ended up sort of just below the partners because I worked in operations management, everything from the HR to operations. We had some large corporate accounts that we managed. We were quite a good size agency. So, but I ended up being, quite a dynamic part of the agency in the sense of bringing in, they were tracking things with a CRM. They were tracking things, with an Excel spreadsheet. We ended up bringing a CRM in. I did like all of those sort of operations management, right into the marketing plans, right into hiring designers and being part of that team. I was actually in production management as well at one point. So anyway, they merged and I ended up going out as a consultant, and that's how I ended up buying Blam. I was working as a marketing consultant, and I ended up using, I guess, local suppliers for some of the things I needed, particularly websites, right? And it was just not working. I wasn't making any money, right? So Blam was a really good fit for everything, right? It was the other half of my consulting business, which actually allowed me to open my own agency. So I had basically I became a full service agency by adding Blam to my, to my own existing sort of little business that I had. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the bit that is quite fascinating to me is that you've had such a wealth of experience where you've been embedded into a decent size agency where you've kind of had to wear a lot of hats. So unlike, most Blam partners, some of them might have some knowledge of marketing and because they may have done marketing for the business that they worked for. But I don't think we've ever had somebody who was so sort of knowledgeable and well understood about how marketing agencies work. And so,
right.
That for me was, when you came on board, it was kind of a bit exciting, a bit scary, because I was thinking, on the one hand, we haven't got to train you on all that kind of stuff. But on the other hand, what you're going to pick holes with everything we do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, this could be awkward. Obviously, it's going awesome, but we'll come to that. But I think from my perspective, what I'm really interested to understand is your kind of background of marketing as a sort of, I suppose, a marketing consultant and then a production person. How did you, I'm trying not to word this.
No, that's okay. And that's really it, right? Because I've been in the thick of it, right? Where I've had to manage an entire studio full of designers, but then I also had to filter all the work out onto the street. So whether it was a website or a billboard or something that was some sort of printed piece that was going out in the mail. And these aren't like, you got to keep in mind that I wasn't working on like $1,000 campaigns. We're talking multi-million-dollar campaigns, right? With everything from TV, radio, billboards, direct mail, whether it's digital ads and websites. So we had to bring all that together. And I was the one that initiated a lot of that, right? I was a production manager. So I you coordinate all of that, but you also make sure it hits the street on time. It's a lot, right?
Oh, it's
And you'd have 2, 3,
so many
4
facets.
of those at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how, what I'm, as I say, I'm trying not to put words into your mouth here, but how do you think that helped or hindered you when it came to running your business?
I think using just all the tools that I learned over the years to manage the scheduling and that sort of thing. So things like a critical path or a schedule, like a work back schedule. So you're checking with the client ahead of time you're not getting caught, to find out if they need, and I've already had it happen to me in this business, right? Where somebody had a launch and we were halfway through and she's like, oh, I have this launch. And I talked to her about it. And I said, that's something that we should know at the beginning so that we can, work back to your date. And I didn't know. We managed to pull it off for her. But at the same time, I sort of educated the client in a way, because it's, so those are the things, you improve your service, and we are client centric. We like to work on them and know what else they're doing. We don't, just because we may be doing a website for them. I mean, we're a marketing full service firm, right? So I tend to look at everything else that they're doing, to make sure that things are working together properly. Like yeah.
And sometimes that can potentially trip you up or cause you
Yes.
more work than you'd potentially prefer.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we've also had clients come to us from other vendors that have been, and again, the award that we won last year, part of it was for being a trailblazer in ethical marketing. And I think part of that is, so we had this one example of a small sort of HVAC supplier locally that actually ended up going to a larger supplier in Canada. They were sold a large PPC package, but nobody looked at his website. I mean, he had no conversion. We get like all of that sort of thing. So we tend to work with our clients to make sure that, things aren't all done transactionally, that they've got a bit of marketing and their content is, going to convert, and people understand, what the value is of doing business with them when they get to their website. So that's what we inject. That's a little different, right? And we try to help some of the small business owners find the gaps.
I think that's you kind of just dropped on it there, but it's a pretty big deal. You actually won an award last year. So how did that come about?
I was part of a group, kind of like your mastermind group, I guess, right? But I ended up being nominated by my peers, right? And then it goes to a series of judges. It was an international award. It actually comes out of Australia. So, but then they judge the business based on some reporting that I have to do. Quite intense reporting, actually. It took over an hour to fill out some of the reporting information. And then you get judged and narrowed down. And then you go through another set of questions by these judges. And I thought, oh, well, this is fun. I'm glad I got nominated, but I didn't think I was going to win anything. I mean, I was only in technically sort of my first year of business, right?
Yeah. And what kudos. And do you think that's affected your business, getting that award?
Yeah, definitely. I think it boosted my confidence, just because I think we are different, right? It's that client-centric approach. It's that ethical approach to marketing, and basically being very honest and transparent with clients about what they're doing and why it's not working and what they need to do to sort of move forward and be successful, versus just selling them a product and adding it onto what they've got, or providing them with a website, but it ends up being, we just taken off what their old website is, and it's still a transactional thing that's not converting, right? Like, there's all sorts of problems with marketing small businesses. And we've had clients come to us that, I mean, a lot of them, they write their own content, right, for their website, and they don't have professional photos, and I mean, there's all sorts of things, right? So we make recommendations and try to you know, depending on the client and their budget, do the best that we can, right, to help them market themselves with their existing budget, which is right where Blam sort of comes in, you know, when we get the help with the websites, because as you know, we charge monthly for our websites. So it does really work with our entire business plan, because it allows our clients to have a bit of a additional budget for other sort of marketing items, whether it's that content rewrite or some sort of lead magnet we help them develop, or you know, digital ads, PPC, whatever it is that they need. I mean, 90% of the small business owners that come to us aren't even running SEO on their websites, right? So, and some of them are actually good sized businesses. We've got a couple right now that we're working with that, you know, they're decent sized businesses. They do business across North America, but you know, they're working with a Wix website, no marketing content, no SEO. So as you can imagine,
Yeah.
you know, there's certain their business isn't growing via their website. So that's where we come in and
I think
try
this,
to educate them.
yeah, and I think this is key to your approach. That I think it's kind of it's a bit of a double-edged sword for you, because it creates additional consulting work for you. But the approach that you take, because of your experience, is the approach that we advise all partners to take, and that is first and foremost to look at the business, come up with a plan as to how to best create their content, do the lead magnet, like you said, potentially a tripwire, then look at the way that the traffic and conversion works. And because of your experience, you do that automatically because you know it works.
Yeah, and that's it. And it just drives me crazy when I see these websites that are like, they basically list their products and then pop the website up, and it's like nobody knows, like, why, what makes you different, what's the value of working with you? Like there's no, you know, there's nothing. It's and so which is fine. I mean, you're there, but I mean, it's not necessarily going to convert, right? So,
and for Blam partners that are listening, I just want to really nail down on this, because Tracy's had a great year. Well, last year was a great year. January's got off to a great start, which we can talk about in a little bit. But the approach that Tracy's taken is very much taking the fundamentals of marketing, understanding what makes a marketing campaign successful, and articulating that, and in a way that helps the client understand the value that they're going to receive. And what's really key for me is that marketing isn't actually rocket science in itself, the principles of it. And Tracy, who's been working with these big agencies in Canada for years, actually uses exactly the same principles that we do. There's no difference there. And we've got the tools to be able to implement it. But what Tracy is really good at, because of her experience, is helping the client understand the value. And we all get it, don't we, Tracy? I know you and I have had plenty of conversations where sometimes you bang your head against a brick wall trying to help a client understand what they need
for sure.
a bit more money. They'll get a massive return.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And most of them I can help them see. I'd say 50% of the websites that I see or that we've dealt with a lot of customers they're basically done upside down. There's no, like, they get straight into it. I was working with a company that does sort of rents out cabins, and you get there, they had their name and then book the cabin, the reservation part at the very top, and then all the information on actually the property and the cabins itself were towards the bottom of the page. Like, it was really odd. Like, the whole site was upside down, and they of course hired some big developer to help them. But I mean, really, from a marketing standpoint, like, it was just the weirdest thing. And I've seen it over and over again. Like, you've got to think through what people are looking at and the journey that they've got going on when they get to your page, and how they're going to read it and understand your product. And some of it is just so simple. I feel like after I explain it to a client, they're just shaking their head, like they see it and then it's like, oh my God, right? Yeah, you see the light bulb go on. It happens all the time.
So. I love that moment.
And they appreciate it. Then there's that trust thing that's built, right? Because you're giving them sort of some advice, and then that's where we launch into our yeah, we can help you with
Yeah.
extra services, which is really where I started in the first place, right? Is writing those plans. Yeah.
And that guys, what Tracy's just said is the essence of sales. We talk about the consultative approach. You are consultants, and the understanding the customer value journey is really quite straightforward. And when you explain it to a client, they're usually going to get it. And that is the basis of how you help somebody understand why they need a marketing strategy. And what we do is provide the tools that help implement that strategy. And that what Tracy does is just help organize it and then package it up and send it to us to get it done. And I love that, because that's why you win awards. And it's not really rocket. I mean, I'm not belittling your skills.
You're right. It's not rocket science.
Not.
But the funnier part is it's not rocket science, Grant, but most people don't do it. Like I'm telling you, I'm working with some fairly good sized. I'm a bit shocked. I've got some pretty big businesses coming to me now that I've been referred over to me, which is fantastic, right? But same thing applies to them as the smaller business owners. They've cut corners. They've tried doing some things in house. They've even written content in house. I mean, some of the sites aren't even. I mean, there's never been any SEO. Nobody's even finding them. Like it's just it's helping the client understand like the whole presence of what's the purpose of a website. And yes, anybody can put a website up, but right. And and then how they can use their website as one of their tools in marketing, because unfortunately you'd think like everybody knows that these days, but there are still those big chunks of businesses that go, well, we don't really need a website. We've got this coming in, but they're losing all. And sometimes I'll run a report and show them what their competition, what they're doing on their website. Like this one HVAC guy that I was working with, this company, I think his competitors were getting between 3,000, 4,000 hits on their website every month. And from what I could tell from the research I did on the competition, it's primarily some Facebook ads and some SEO and a good website. So if you've got 4,000 people coming to your website, how much business are you losing if your competitors have all that traffic? And that was between three of them. So that's probably 15 to 20,000 people that are going to his three top competitors, and they're not going to him. They're not going to his website. So suddenly they can kind of see, oh, wow, okay, we're missing that much business. It's just an awareness, really. It's not but they get really, it's funny, clients in a way, they get, I wouldn't say scared, but I swear I've seen the blood run out of their face, right? When you show them sort of the benefits, right, of doing proper marketing.
It's that seeing the money they're leaving on the table, is.
Yeah, it could be scary when you think of it. Like, I mean, that's 15 to 20,000 people. And even if you and I both know, what if we had a 5% conversion even? Like, think about the money. That's a lot of money. A lot of money, but it was going to his competition, not him. So, yeah.
So if I was to sort of just dig a bit deeper on your sort of entrepreneurial journey, what would you say has been the most difficult thing in running your own business compared to when you were working for somebody else?
Organizing my time management, probably a big one. I still struggle with that a little bit because sometimes I'll get bogged down with meetings, and then I you still have proposals and that sort of thing to deal with. So I'm still working on that part. That's definitely finding a balance in my day and how I, there's certain things I'm putting into place. Like I'm going to, I've blocked off time in my schedule. So I'm not in meetings 8 hours out of the business day, right? As much as I want to meet and be available to clients at the same time, I can't be working till 8 o'clock every night because I've been in meetings for 8 hours a day. So I would say, time management is the big one. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one that all entrepreneurs struggle with, because there's always something to do, isn't there? and there's always something to make you feel busy, but prioritizing your time is the most important thing, and ring fencing the time for the things that are going to move the needle forward, as opposed to that keep you busy but not necessarily productive.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's kind of where I get caught. I mean, I want to be available to clients all the time, but it's not really, you know, it's not something that I'm able to do at this time. I mean, we just need to manage our time a little better. I think what it is when you start to grow, like you had said, that, you know, I had started to scale a little, and I'm become a little bit popular here. I've got quite a few referrals, and on top of the calls and stuff that we make, setting up appointments. It's just you know, it's dealing with the scaling your business too, right? When you start to get busy and you don't want to say no to those meetings. But so that would be my biggest thing that I'm dealing with right now. Yeah. My time is stretched.
Yeah. So one thing I just want to pick up on, I think would be really useful for Bland partners to hear about, is that you're not the only partner that's doing this, but you've actually got some clients that are marketing agencies themselves.
Yes. Yeah, I do.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that, just to sort of the benefit of Bland partners? Because it's not really a marketplace they would consider, I don't think.
Yeah, and I think what it is it's mostly they're using local. Say they were doing what I was doing, but they didn't have a web designer in house, so they're already running an agency, and they're sending. So really, we just took the place of the other agencies that they had, that they were working with locally, and of course, some of them knew me through my ad agency days. So of course they're thinking, oh, okay, wow, okay, well, if I can get my site through you and we can get it done reasonably, well, they know what they're getting, right? So I do, you know, of course I'm selling the product, and I mean the product's superior as far as I'm concerned, because I've been around long enough to know, as you know too, right, that it's a pretty stable product compared to some of the other technology out there. But so yeah, we basically presented what we offered, and you know, we're a local supplier like every other local supplier that they're using. But I think we have more benefits. And as soon as they saw the benefits, because it's a couple of the agencies that we were working with were using suppliers that were building WordPress websites, right?
Yeah.
And having a lot of issues. And of course, those issues would kick back on them because they're the ones that recommended using the developer that developed on that platform. So really, we just took a whole bunch of worry and stress and cost, and really we checked off a whole bunch of boxes for them. So it's how you position yourself. Same marketing for me as it is for our clients. We are solving problems, right? So guys, that's the big thing, right? You need to solve a problem for someone. You need to, that's how you're going to do business, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And I love it when partners talk about, I mean, you know, our product. I remember you saying something to me a few months ago, and it was, you're not used to having clients be so happy with their websites.
Yeah. That was it exactly, right? Because there's always an issue, or they have issues doing editing if they want to do it themselves, or right. Yeah.
So yeah, that's awesome. So so looking to the future then, I don't want to jinx it, but I know you've got a couple of nice little...
I've got a couple big ones coming in right now. I'm working on some of it today, some bigger proposals. So I'm working on with a larger firm that would turn into probably as much work if I get it, that it would take me like a quarter of the year to get that much work from one client.
Yeah.
So it's quite big. Yeah.
So you're talking
a little unnerving at the same time, right?
Yeah, it's a bit scary, isn't it? Because you're looking at opportunities, and this is something that I always encourage, because you're at the point now where, you know, you've got your experience, you understand your business, you're growing nicely, you can confidently know how everything works, and so the next step is to be thinking, right, how can I get multiple websites, multiple accounts in one go?
Yeah,
and that's pretty much what's happened. And so you could see your business kind of exponentially scale as we've seen this happen with other partners, just with effectively one deal.
Yeah, one or two that I've got. This would be my second. I've got one already on board, although we've only got 2 sites out of the 5 or 6. But this client actually I found out, owns a whole other series of franchises. So really, the 6 sites that we sold in December could turn into 12, and this one that we're onboarding right now, hopefully, is going to be 15. So those 2 clients, that'd be 30 websites, right?
Yeah.
Instead of 2 clients. Yeah.
And they're also bundled with some potential SEO and PPC as well.
SEO and PPC. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So those clients are out there, guys. And, I know the way Tracy operates as well. They won't be getting it cheap.
Yeah, well, it's results driven though, right? So they are still getting, as far as I'm concerned, Grant, they're getting a senior agency person, right? Managing their stuff. Now, had they go to one of my colleagues here, they'd be paying $150 an hour for everybody that touched their project, an hour. That's what I used to bill out at when I was at the agency I was at.
And that was in pounds. So,
yeah,
the reason I think, when I say they're getting it cheap, to us, when I say they're not getting it cheap, rather, that's from our perspective. From the actual marketplace perspective,
right?
They are getting it cheap.
Yeah, and that's what we drive home. It's like, go to another agency, you're going to pay.
But it's not like you're just marking it up a few percent. You're doing the proper. You're selling it at the appropriate price. And I had a call with an agency owner the other day, and they just couldn't get their head around what we charge. They just couldn't. It just didn't.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Because we can't, and we're actually not overcharging compared to the agencies. And I still think I'm undercharging, even though I know that I'm charging a lot more than some other partners. But it's a different. From what I think, it's a different product, right? We're not just. It's like I said, they've got a good chunk of consulting in there when
they do.
I just honestly, Grant, don't want to do any work for anybody without that little chunk of consulting, because for me, they're not going to get any conversion, or they're not going to do things right.
That's where the value is.
It's going to come back on us, right?
Yeah. So awesome. Brilliant. Well, Tracy, listen, it's been absolutely awesome to have a catch up with you again. And I really appreciate you taking the time. For those of you as well, just say, Tracy and I spent a bit of time together in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that was fun.
we had
it
a
happens in Vegas, stays in Vegas.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, we had a whale of a time. And no, it was just really great to catch up with you in person again and sort of get to know you a bit better. And hence, coming in on this chat, because we got to do a lot of chatting. And I can just see you doing awesome things with your business. You're an awesome entrepreneur. You're a real inspiration. I really can see a lot of partners getting a lot of inspiration from the way you go about your business. And yeah, it's absolute pleasure to be working with you.
Thanks, Grant. I appreciate it. And thanks for inviting me today, and for, being my mentor too throughout this process. As you know, I haven't always had this mindset. So you helped with that a lot. So
I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. And so to everybody that's watching, from myself, Tracy, from David, John, I hope you've got lots of value. Now, don't forget, guys, you've got to go and take action right now. There will be something you have heard during this presentation that motivated you, inspired you, that flicked a switch that you can go and do immediately. I'm going to go and write down my joy list. And I want you guys to go and pick the thing that you take away. It could be something that Tracy's just said, something that's really igniting. It could be something that I said in my presentation. There were so many takeaways with John. David Rahman, as ever, will inspire so much change in you. But take that thing and go and do it now. Now, for those of you that have taken the time and trouble to watch us to the end, in the chat, you will see a link to a landing page that we've set up that I have a whole load of tools for you, stuff that's going to help you on your entrepreneurial journey, things that are going to help you with your vision, with your mindset, and with your business. So click on the link. It'll be in the chat. Go to the landing page, get your goals organized, get your vision sorted. Let's all be high performance individuals, guys. Let's make this happen. Thank you for listening. Have a fantastic weekend. Thank you again, Tracy. And I'll see you on the next one, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.